The GoPro Ironman World Championship is really heating up. The athlete's just turning the corner right now. This is Luke Mckenzie from Australia. He is our leader on the course at the moment, and Matt Lieto, he's just about to come up to the Timex Ironman watch bonus here. So he'll be picking up this preem, and he's going to be very happy. You know this young fella very well.
Yeah, no, it's hard not to smile. This is my first look at Luke Mckenzie as he goes through and gets the Timex Run Preem bonus for the day. Training buddy of mine comes up to Bend every summer. This summer we only had him for 5 weeks, but he's done a lot of hard work. He worked almost a little too hard, had some tough races 4 or 5 weeks ago, but Luke knows how to rest, and normally for me, I can tell when he has a bad patch of races, it's because he's trained really hard, and if he lets it absorb, he comes back really well, and as he did 2 years ago, he's come back, and he's racing very, very well at the World Championship.
All right, so the Timex Ironman watch bonus goes to Luke Mckenzie on the run course. Of course, you've got to finish the race to collect that preem, so we'll see Luke Mckenzie at the other end of this field later on this afternoon. So we're looking at Chris McDonald and Michael Lovato getting ready for their little update on the run when we get to them in just a few moments. But this is the steepest part of the run course there, Matt. You can see that the stride is a lot shorter.
Yep.
But Mackenzie's working very hard. He's very trim. He's lost a little bit of weight, but he looks like he's in the best physical condition of his life.
He's the leanest I've ever seen him. Definitely when he came up to Bend, I started wearing my shirt around the pool a lot more than I used to. I didn't want to be seen next to Luke without my shirt on, but he looks really fit, really good. It looks very smooth. I'm curious do you think I think he might have found an old trucker hat from Julie Moss. It looks like a little Julie Moss-esque with the big trucker hat today. But Luke, I mean, this is a hard hill. If you're not feeling good, you're going to run 10, 11-minute miles up this pace up this hill. He looks like he's ticking over still around 7-minute pace.
Yeah, they've just been absolutely beautiful right now. I mean, Luke has just been solid all day long so far, and this is a different Luke Mckenzie than what we've ever seen. So Michael Lovato and Chris McDonald are standing by on Palani Hill right now, and we're going to have a word to them and get their thoughts on how Luke looked.
Yep.
Guys? All right, we'll get to the boys in just a few moments' time, but Luke Mckenzie here just looking very good still as he makes that left-hand turn onto the Queen Kaumanu Highway, and that's going to be about 11 miles into the run course, Matt, so he's got, 15 miles to go now, so we'll go back down to the boys and we'll have a chat with them. So, Chris, Mike, take it away.
Thank you, Greg. Yeah, we're standing here on Palani Hill. We're actually just about to see Sebastian Kinley, our defending 70.3 world champion. He's just crossed where the Timex Run Preem was. And, it may look like he's struggling, but I can't describe to you how hot it is on this hill. You have a tailwind coming off the bay, and it is a very, very, very steep section of the course. And right at mile 10, Michael, we saw Luke run by about 3 minutes ago. We've just seen Sebastian go by. What's your take on the two of them?
Yeah, the split was 2 minutes, 30 seconds, and Luke looked really good. Sebastian looks like he's saying, you know what, I can't get after this right away. It's way too early. Luke is actually being, I think, very patient. He's not used to being the front runner in this race, but he knows that role well at other events. So I think as we look to the side, we've got Frederick Van Leard, last year's third-place finisher. We'll get you a tally on that split. As you can see, this guy is incredibly strong, incredibly good, but note that pace. It does not look good. He's being very smart about it. Do not panic. This is a tough hill, Chris, and I don't think 10-minute miles is quite the case, but he's certainly going a lot slower than he will in his average.
Yeah, for sure. And I remember the last time I did this race, this hill is incredibly hot. As I said, the tailwind. All three of these guys look fantastic, and the notable thing to me is Luke. He still looked very much in control, and he talked about wanting to improve his run. He still had that weapon of a bike he's always had, but being the leaner athlete he is, can we see him hang on? He certainly looked comfortable in my eyes.
Hang on what? Hang on for the victory? We're not sure, but I do know that he's going to run really well because the thing is he's already doing it. 10 miles in is a point where you often will see a crack. So, again, waiting anxiously for these other people. Here's some things to discuss. A lot of the race, we talked about where this race begins. This race begins at mile 80 or so on the bike. Where we see this race really start to unfold, mile 11 of the run, that happens after they drop down onto the highway. That's when the reality of this sets in. You've done an hour, a little over, of racing on your feet, and it is time to go. So, Chris, what do you think? I mean, to me, the Australian, he wants to keep that title in the land of Oz.
Yeah, we've been lucky enough to get the last 6 male titles. I think one thing that really stands out as an athlete and watching these athletes go by, they go out and back on Palani Drive. A lot of people, a lot of crowd come back through Untitled Kona, up Palani Hill here again. A ton of crowd. When you make the left up onto the Queen K, there's nobody. It's just you and your thoughts.
It's just all alone. And what's really cool is there are a lot of people here, and why is that? Because we actually, as we know, Luke Mckenzie came through here at this Timex Ironman Watch Preem. So when he came through here in first place as he did, he pocketed $5,000. Now, that $5,000, it can sit there and say, you know what, I can gamble and I'm still getting paid. At least I know that much. And it sounds like a little sort of trifle here thing when we're talking about the victory of this championship, but it helps because it is hard to sort of always be thinking about that. It is his profession. It is his goal to take home some bucks, and now he's got that completely removed from the equation, correct?
Correct. And Luke's been over here for a month. He's invested a lot of time, a lot of money into being ready for the World Championships. Instead of being 3 or 4 grand in the hole, now he's at level. It's all money from here. And I'm sure Luke, it wouldn't have been his goal. He wants to win the title, but when he crossed that line, I'm sure in the back of his mind, he checked that one off, and it was like, okay, now I'm back at 0, and it's time to try and push on and keep the Ironman World title in the land down under.
I tell you what, that's now 5 minutes 45 seconds from when Luke came through here. Again, Luke Mckenzie leading our race. 5 minutes. I mean, that's almost 6 minutes right now by my watch. We're at 6 minutes. And to me, this is pretty crazy because we've got a lot of talent. We talked about what was happening back there. We haven't seen any of them. So I'd like to see this race start to sort of shuffle up and see if those guys come up and do some damage on the Queen K. Meantime, maybe we'll pop back and see if you guys have anything from the overhead shots, and you can give us a bit of insight into what's going down. And then we'll certainly come back out here and view this challenge of a climb up Palani Drive.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mike. Yeah, we've got AJ from Training Peaks right now. And AJ, I remember last year we had a chat about Luke Mckenzie, about the way that he paced the race. And
right.
Let's chat about the way that he's paced the race today, because Training Peaks has all that data coming in. He seems to be having a good race.
Yeah, he's obviously having a great day today. So, as you mentioned, last year, didn't necessarily pace it so well. He went out a little hard.
Yeah.
First part of the race, he went out 290 watts, faded, came back to 232. This year, he really turned that completely around. Went out, not necessarily conservatively, but 277 watts on the way out. And then he actually built on that on the way back, 285 watts. So put him in a great position, obviously, for the run.
Yeah, I put that down to, just sort of, learning how to train a little bit better, smarter, having good recovery, and being able to peak up, for good training sessions and making those, important training sessions count.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big key, is he's obviously learned what he needs to do for this race. He's had some key sessions, and I would assume he's hitting some key numbers. So it's obviously showing today. I think one of the most impressive things is not only is he able to put out those sort of watts, that his, what we call intensity factor, is basically 80%. So he's doing that level, 80% of what he can hold for 1 hour for, just over 4 hours. So it's not just how fast he goes, it's how fast they can go and still keep it under control.
So would you say that, he's been working on that high aerobic threshold, that low anaerobic threshold area for long periods of time?
Yeah, definitely I would. I mean, that's a key area for being able to build the kind of strength and endurance you need to be at the front of Kona.
All right, so you mentioned that he came home at 287 watts, but the way that he's running right now, he's really up on his toes. Luke Mckenzie's not running, known for his running prowess, okay, but he's lost a little bit of weight.
Yeah.
He looks pretty good. The way that Luke's running right now, he used to run where his hip dropped into the ground, his ankles and his heels were absorbing a lot of the ground there. He's got a faster turnover, he's more up on his toes right now, and his posture looks better.
Yeah, absolutely, and I'll bet that some of that is the fact that he's more efficient on the bike, so he's more fit on the bike, but he's not using it all just during the bike portion. He saved that energy. It's showing here that his form is like you mentioned, much better, and he looks really strong.
Yeah, he looks really strong right now. As a matter of fact, just going through his eating right now, this is about the time of the course, after you get past that 10.5 mile mark, you go past everyone in town, the adrenaline's pumping, everyone's uppity, everybody's clapping and applauding. It gives you a great sense of satisfaction, and it puts you on a wave of confidence. However, once you get back out onto the Queen Kaumanu Highway, running out of the Energy Lab, there is no one, as you can see, and now it's a game of patience and perseverance.
Yeah, he's out kind of all on his own, and he expended 4,400 calories on the bike, and if you're not getting in that nutrition on the bike, and every time we saw him, he seemed to be on top of his nutrition. And that again is another thing that's probably playing into his hands right now, that he has a good nutrition plan as well. He's a smart racer.
So if he expended 4,400 calories on the bike, I mean, how many calories can one athlete take in per hour without throwing up, without having hypernatremia, without bloating their stomachs?
Yeah, nutrition is a very difficult thing to pin down, even from race to race. But typically, conservatively, you can say about 400 calories an hour. Various, whether that's drinks and bars and gels, a lot of different ways to get it in. But these guys are running huge calorie deficits because they're not worried about their recovery tomorrow. They got to leave it all out there right now. Nutrition, it's a difficult thing to train, but I'll bet that Luke went out there, and when he was doing his key sessions and getting ready for Kona, it wasn't just about watts and speed. It was about watts and speed and my nutrition and how do I feel, and even fit and those sorts of things. Because this is what, his 26th, 27th Ironman, so he's not new to this. He's always learning.
He's always learning, but I tell you what, he's turned it all upside down today. He's gone away from last year in his other couple of races and learned from it. Now he's come in here smart. He put the hammer down on the way back on the bike ride, especially from from Waikoloa area all the way back into town. And as you were saying, someone to hold 287 watts as opposed to somebody who's dropping under 250 makes a big difference at that part of the race.
Absolutely. That's where you see who's paced properly, who's maybe let the excitement get a little bit better of them, and it's a matter of you got to have a plan. But hey, this is Kona. This is a race, and you give it everything you got.
Well, early bike leader, that was Andrew Stankiewicz, just going through the 10.5 mile mark there at the Timex Ironman watch bonus. Something that Luke Mckenzie has already picked up, so he's banking a little bit of money, so he's buying the beers later on for sure. As we can see another wave of our athletes just coming through. We can see Dirk Bockel coming through. So these athletes are doing a great job. What about some other data that you've captured out there that's interesting?
Other things that we've seen is, I'm trying to remember, so we looked a little bit at some of Pete Jacobs' data. Obviously, he didn't have quite the race he wanted, and, we're talking about Luke, and, Pete maybe got a little excited, hard to say exactly, but his pacing wasn't optimum, obviously, for him. And then, we're actually in the process right now. We literally just grabbing the computers out of T2, and we're pulling more data from guys like Jordan Rapp and TJ Tolixson and Ferris. I briefly looked at Ferris's data. He was looking, we have his data from last year, and it looks really spot on. This almost exactly the same as last year. He was right about 280 watts, and he's so consistent.
Ferris is so consistent.
He's always there.
He's always there. We always see Ferris right up there. I mean, when you take a look at like last year's results, you're looking at a 51.39. He swam very close to that today. A 4.35. He biked better than that today. He did a 2.56 last year. I bet you he runs 2.56 again today.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy's just a machine. He's a 2005 GoPro Ironman world champion.
Yep.
And he's still pushing it.
Hey, he's a fan favorite, right? I mean, he probably draws so much energy from the crowd because when you see the beard and you see that he's just always out there.
Yep, and he does it in Speedos.
Yeah, well, hey, that's the style, right?
Well, he does it in those budgie smugglers. But anyway, he's doing a great job of it out there today, but so is Rachel Joyce and Meredith Kessler, because in our women's race, that's heating up as well. So I know that you got some data from last year with our women, so we'll wait till you get some of that data to comment on it. But, it's very interesting to get all this data, because not only can we learn and educate people back at home, watching this incredible program, but also it's important to learn this stuff because it can make you better in the long run.
Yeah, absolutely. And there are certain things that the pros do, the way they execute, that any age grouper can do. It's just a matter of the pros execute it a little bit faster.
Yep, Timothy O'Donnell just running up the hill in front of Bevan Doherty there. So Tim O'Donnell, a very good runner. So is Bevan Doherty. Yeah. Let's tell you a little bit about Bevan Doherty, because he holds 2 Olympic medals, 1 silver in 2004 in Athens, 1 in the bronze colour at the 2008 Games in Beijing, and also he has represented himself again at the Olympic Games in 2012. This year, he is the Ironman New Zealand champion, but his first Ironman race, and he was in his hometown, and he takes Cameron Brown's record down.
Right.
He was amazing.
That is obviously a very, very talented guy. He's put in a lot of work, and I think people underestimate, the fact that, hey, he's moving up to long course, but he has so many years of training under his belt. He's obviously a fierce competitor. He's so strong. And, I think at the iron distance, having a strong run, that's a key.
Yep, and 2013 has been a great year for Bevan Doherty, Ironman New Zealand. He was the winner. And also in 70.3 Boise and also in Vineman at the 70.3 distance, he was the champion as well. So Bevan Doherty from New Zealand, as we look back on Palani Road, this is looking down. It looks flat, the way that we're looking at it.
But it's not.
It's not. No, it's a good percentage right there. It's probably 10, 11%. So it's a pretty hard run to get up there. Once they get to the top 11 miles, but once they get out onto the highway, it's a little bit of breathing room as well.
It is. Yeah, I don't know. I think the Queen K on the run is just it's just rolling. It never stops. It's never flat, and you don't have that same energy out there. You're on your own, and that's where the mental toughness comes to play for sure.
Yep, it does. All right, AJ. Well, thanks very much for joining us here in the studio.
Appreciate it.
Give us some more of those numbers when you start downloading all of that down there. Come over and tell me about it in about an hour or so, and then we can get back with that. So thanks again for coming in.
Thank you.
Thanks to Training Peaks. All right, that's AJ. He's down here just having a chat with us about that. Matt Lietto's coming back into the studio right now to join us. As we look down on Palani Road here, you can see that at 10.5 miles into this race course, incredible spot. You're looking down at Hot Corner down there, the GoPro Hot Corner. You can see the bikers just coming in their last quarter of a mile to ride. The runners go up the hill, and that is about a quarter of a mile into it, and then also 10.5 miles into the run course today. Great job of our professional athletes out there. Luke Mckenzie is surprising everybody at the moment. And by the way, he has just shot out his lead. His lead has gone out by 26 seconds. So second place is Sebastian Kinley. He's lost a little bit of time to Luke Mckenzie right now. And now he's looking okay. Sebastian usually runs right up on his toes with his chin down and his shoulders forward. But as looking at Sebastian Kinley right now, his shoulders are sort of in the right position, but his leg turnover is still there. But when I look behind, Sebastian Kinley, I think that Frederick Van Leard is going to be coming here pretty soon.
Sebastian looks pretty good. He looks pretty smooth. He didn't. I didn't get a split. Did you get a split on when he came through?
Yeah, the last split I got on Luke Mckenzie and Sebastian Kinley is 7.3 miles in the run. It was 1 minute and 54 seconds, and then the next split that we got for our men at 10.5 miles was 2:20 to Sebastian Kinley. Kinley is now out on the lava fields, but he's running a little bit faster than Mckenzie now. Yeah. So it's gone wishy-washy. I think that Sebastian Kinley had a little bit of a bad patch in between 7 and 10 miles, and I think that Luke Mckenzie now, the last shot that we got of Luke Mckenzie, he was eating a lot, he was drinking a lot. I think he was trying to work on getting that nutrition in, and now, by the look of it, Kinley is back on the move.
Yeah, no, he looks smooth, and it looks like, Kinley looks like he's a dynamic racer, but he's also goes by rhythm. And it looks like he's found that rhythm again. He's gotten a nice little gradual downhill, and he's able to open his stride up a little bit. He's able to get a little bit looser on his shoulder and stride out. Now he's actually coming up a hill a little bit. So, and as you said, Frederick Van Leard, the last split we had, he was a minute 20 back. To me, that doesn't look like a minute 20 there. The camera can play funny tricks on you, but he's running quite well.
Okay, so we're going to go out to McDonald and Lovato out on course. Boys, what have you got for us?
Yeah, we're still here right by the Timex Run Preem, and obviously a lot of fellows have come through. And then some notable things that you guys would surely love to hear is just some of these guys and how they looked and how they presented themselves. Some of them interacting with Chris and me down here, and that interaction is key. You can sort of see who feels composed, who doesn't, and someone has a little bit of panic in their eye. They don't have sunglasses on. They're like, what the heck is going on? So cutting right to the chase, I think just in reverse order, we just saw Yvonne Rania go through. Of all of the guys that were in front of him, he looked the absolute best. He had more spring in his step. That could indicate that he just doesn't know what he's in for, and some of these guys are considering. But I think Yvonne Rania from Spain definitely had that a little bit more pep, a little bit better run form than the others. Tim O'Donnell of the U.S. also, he was in there, and this guy knows the course. He's raced here. This is, his second time on the run, but he did he did look very good because he looked like, hey, you know what? This is it. I shouldn't be racing yet. So he had that kind of, I think, look in his face like, I'm ready to get some work done once we get on the highway. Others, Ty Butterfield, very familiar with the course, not having raced here very much at all, but trained here a lot. He had one of those bit of a panic moments where he looked and he's just like, oh my gosh, as Chris said, this is one of the hottest places on the planet, this section of the run course. He had that look, right, Chris? Oh my gosh, what's going down? I think he's still going to hold on. And then just kind of final thought from me at this very moment is Frederick Van Leard, he just looked so poised and control. He was going slow, but sort of the way you think he means to go slow, because he knows third place last year, he lost it at the very end to Raylard. He wants to conserve that for those final miles, right, Chris?
Yeah, and like you say, he was moving slow, but it was a very calm slow. It wasn't a slow of panic. You know, a few of the guys had that squinted grimace look on their face, and you know, Ty had that squinted grimace look. Yvonne Van Lierkin, who popped up, you know, he had lost some time, but looked very comfortable. The most notable thing to me is the gaps. There's huge gaps. You know, I think over the last few years and the reduced number of people in the field, we see this race really blowing apart. There's not the same kind of 2-minute gaps in between people. We're looking at 3 minutes, 4 minutes, some 6 minutes gaps.
Sure, and also notable was that our one-time leader, I should say, Andrew Starkowicz, has lost 11 minutes inside of 10 miles, over a minute per mile down the tubes to Luke Mckenzie. Over my shoulder, you'll see Luke Bell, the other Luke, Aussie Luke, out of Australia, with Jordan Rapp on his back. Behind Jordan Rapp is our defending GoPro Ironman world champ Pete Jacobs. So these guys looking to be about 20 minutes out of the lead. Correct, about 20 minutes out of the lead for Pete Jacobs. He's such a gamer that I would not count him out. Pete Jacobs tucked in behind Rapp, the newbie here. And as we look back, we've obviously got a lot of competitors still flowing up this hill. I can see Craig Alexander behind, and that is Cyril Vinot out of France. Obviously another competitor that has a nice light stride. As we look down the hill in a minute here, we will return to view, and it is a crowd favorite, absolute legend, Craig Alexander, our course record holder. Hold on, folks. This guy, he could very well come back and be inside that top 5. Sure, he is 21 minutes out of the lead. However, he is an absolute gamer, and he's grimacing. He's showing what he's got. Again, folks, that's our 2011 GoPro Ironman world champ right there, Craig Alexander. He's a fighter, and I do expect to see him continue to move up. My watch said 21 minutes out of the lead. I'm not seeing that come down, but I am seeing him probably get into that top 10. He's just going to fight his way up there. What do you think, Chris?
For sure. Craig is a total gamer. He's never going to give up. Watching those guys come up the hill there, they've lost a lot of time to the top 5, but in all honesty, Luke Bell looked very, very calm. He had that look of calmness on his face. Craig, hometown favorite for me, I would love to say that, he's just running slowly up here to be patient, but he did look like he was struggling, to get up there.
He looks to be in a world of hurt, let's be totally honest, but we love Craig and we know what he's capable of, so certainly there is a chance that he's going to make it. In the meantime, I'd love to hear what you all have to say in the studio. Matt, Greg, please take it away.
Thank you guys, thanks for the update out there, and big news out on the course right now. Luke Mckenzie from Australia continues to extend his lead out at 2 minutes and 51 seconds over Sebastian Kinley, and also we can see Freddie Van Leard. He's coming right up onto the back of Kinley right now. This is the Newton run course there, Matt Lieto, and these guys are having a great day, but Luke Mckenzie having an even better one.
He's having the better day of anybody out there right now at this point, obviously, and he's as you said, putting time into two-time defending 70.3 world champion Sebastian Kinley. That's no easy task. As we said, Sebastian had the third fastest run split in Vegas this year, so Sebastian can run. He had a 2:54 marathon here last year, so if Luke is putting time into him, he's putting time into someone who has experience of running well under 3 hours. That's not easy to do on this course, especially if you're riding hard. But what we're seeing right now are the feet of Sebastian Kinley and Frederick Van Leard, and this is dangerous for Luke Mckenzie. These two athletes have been close together for a fair amount of time. On that last little downhill, Frederick opened his legs up and his stride up a little bit and made a dash back and got on Sebastian's shoulder. But if these two athletes link up and Kinley decides that he's not comfortable with third place and he wants to get a ride and get some energy out of Frederick Van Leard for a little bit, Sebastian Kinley's going to just jump on the shoulder of Frederick Van Leard and do his best to stay with him. And I don't think that he's going to let him go right away, and he might prove me wrong here, but I do, from what we were gathering from Michael Lovato and Chris McDonald out on the course, Frederick Van Leard is very much in control right now. He is running very smooth and controlled. Both of them said that it looked like he was holding back. He looked like he was running slower than he is capable of running. He was doing it on purpose because he got caught out a little bit last year by not having enough energy to finish the race off at second place, and I think he was disappointed to not get second place, but I think he was disappointed not to win. And today's the day where there is so much racing left here, Greg, so he knows that a 3-minute gap is nothing in this race. It just takes two aid stations for a leader to have a bad patch to walk through and walk for, a quarter of a mile, and 3 minutes is gone. I mean, that can happen so quickly.
Yeah.
So Frederick Van Leard is gaming on that last 10K of this race.
They're approaching the halfway mark in the GoPro Ironman World Championship Marathon, the 26.2 Newton run course. And right now, Freddie Van Leard has now gone into second place over Sebastian Kinley, the Ironman Nice champion, Ironman France. He was really spectacular early on in June this year. Absolutely fantastic race. Kinley tried to come back up onto Freddie's shoulder there, but Freddie's having nothing of it. Freddie wants to get after the win here, and there it goes. You can see that now Kinley is struggling. Okay, so Freddie Van Leard now is doing a very, very good job of it, doing a very, very, very good job of it at the moment, going into second place. All right, we can see that Freddie is now in second place. Rachel Joyce on the split screen, we can see that she's leading our women's race. We're going to run off to a break. We'll come back on the other side. We'll update you on our women's, but the men's race is right at the halfway point of the GoPro Ironman World Championship. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
It all started 25 years ago with a sewing machine, a cyclist, a fashion student, and a simple idea: to build a better bike short. And from these humble beginnings, Segoy was born. While our garments have evolved, our core philosophy remains the same. We ride, we run, we make the gear that we want to wear. We're passionate about creating the best product for athletes, by athletes, so you can look and perform your best.
It flew, fell, dropped, slipped.
It slid out of my hand. My trunks.
My pocket. Parka. Purse.
And sailed. Skipped.
Whoa. Bounded.
Bounced.
No. Ricocheted.
Down. Over.
Across the beach. The stairs. The rocks. And landed in a lake proof.
Settled in a creek proof.
And ended up in the pool. Proof.
Champions aren't born. Champions are made. Will, determination, greatness. Here, get made.
It's always about going faster because it's a race, but it's about going faster with the minimum input of energy possible. Minimizing drag and aerodynamics plays a huge role because you want to be able to expend your energy in a way that you get a massive return on that investment, i.e. going further down the road and also saving energy for the marathon, which is a huge determining factor in success or failure in any triathlon.
When they leave early, I'll work overtime. When my muscles say stop, I say I can't hear you. But after it's all over, I listen and give my muscles what they need to repair and rebuild. Chocolate milk. Scientists say it works. My body says it too. So So tomorrow, when the other guy says, I'm taking the day off, I say, I'm coming in early.
I'm Craig Alexander, and you're watching Ironman Live.
This portion of the show is being brought to you by Recon Instruments, the official sponsor of the GoPro Ironman World Championship. Specialized, the presenting sponsor of the GoPro Ironman World Championship bike course. Hawaiian Tourism Authority, the Hawaiian Islands, visit gohawaii.com. And by TriggerPoint, the official sponsor of the GoPro Ironman World Championship. The GoPro Ironman World Championship continues in Kailua Kona, commemorating the 35th anniversary of the Ironman Triathlon World Championship. Matt Lieto, what a great sight this finish line is. Absolutely gorgeous. You don't see anything like this anywhere else in the world.
No, it's giving me goosebumps. We don't know who's going to win yet, and any way it's going to go, it's going to be exciting, and it's always a treat to see that first place finisher in the men's and women's races cross that finish line.
Yeah, what we do know is that Freddie Van Leard is now taking out about 6 seconds or 7 seconds a mile on Luke Mckenzie right now. So the 7 seconds a mile, if you do the math on this, it's going to come down to about a minute 20 or a minute 25 seconds or something like that at the end of the race here between him and Frederick Van Leard. Now, I saw a very, very good move by Frederick Van Leard, because what Sebastian Kinley tried to do was put the pressure back on Freddie, but Freddie's not going to have anything of it. And I tell you what, man, the Rods Racing leaderboard right now is getting really, really good, because Luke Mckenzie is leading our race. Freddie Van Leard is by far the best runner at the moment. Look at that turnover, Matt. And then Sebastian Kinley in third is still hanging in there, but this guy on camera right now has all the momentum.
Yeah, he looks unbelievable. I mean, you probably didn't hear me. Tried to say it off camera, but I almost guffawed as we went to his picture. He looks so controlled, so smooth. It's like a Terminator almost, right? He knows what he needs to do, and he's very focused in there. He's taking right now. He looks like Cameron Brown used to look like. It doesn't really matter what's going on around you. I'm going to run my pace. I'm going to run smooth. But he knows that he's going to destroy people with that. It was funny when he passed Sebastian Kinley. Not funny, but it was interesting to see when he passed Sebastian. He knows he's running a pace that Sebastian can't sustain, because he was taking 40 seconds within 2 miles. He looked over his shoulder and was almost surprised, are you still there? Are you actually still trying to stay with me? Because he knows that he is putting a pace now that you have to be a very, very strong athlete to be racing near Frederick Van Leard right now.
Yeah, and I tell you what, last year he ran a good race, with Andreas Reylert right up until the very end, and Andreas ran away from him at the very end there to get second, Freddie third. Freddie ran a 2:50 last year, which I thought was a good race. He is on pace right now to run about a 2:48. You can see the turnover that he's doing. It was a very hot day on the bike today with very little wind in the first part. The pace was on at the early part of the bike, and then when they turned around to come back into town, they were facing that headwind.
Yeah.
Now today, Freddie's had one of the fastest bike splits like he did last year. This is the guy that has all the momentum. Nobody else in the field is doing what he is doing except for Luke Mckenzie.
Yeah.
Luke Mckenzie's had a fantastic bike for the second fastest of the day. Fastest bike ride today was Andrew Starkowitz at a 4:21.50, and a 4:22 plus was Luke Mckenzie and also Sebastian Kinley. Luke Mckenzie right now has this race in his armpits. He's got it right in his fingertips. But Frederick Van Leard has all the momentum. Let's switch our focus now over to the left side of the screen there.
Yes, sir.
Rachel Joyce. Everybody's been talking about Rachel. Now she goes by the Sea Village. She's about 2 miles out from town. Everybody's been talking about this young lady from the UK. She's been training out of Boulder, Colorado, but training really well. Everybody was talking about Miranda Carfrey. Everybody was talking about Rachel Joyce.
Yeah, Rachel Joyce, she's one that has had a steady progression in this race. I'm going to get the placings wrong because I'm bad from memory, but I want to say it was maybe a 6th, a 5th, and a 4th is what she got 3 years in a row. And then she had a time where last year she didn't have a great race and she went backwards. But Greg, look how absolutely amazing her form is right now. She looks so smooth. She's running just as fast as some of the good pro men that are out there right now. She is absolutely flying on a Lee drive.
Yeah, she's flying exactly, and you can see that the leg turnover, it's all in the leg turnover.
So
when
good.
you look at the upper body, you can say what you want to say. She looks tired or whatever with the right shoulder or whatever, but the shoulders aren't even rocking that much. She's just got a beautiful flowing motion at the moment. She's got the hip drive. Look at her knees right out in front of her. Her foot plant is perfect. Her ankles are right onto her hips when she's landing on it. Absolutely gorgeous right now. This is the girl we've been talking about it all day. She's got the legs today. She's absolutely flying on a lead drive.
Greg, she swam 2.4 miles with the leaders. She rode 112 miles to break the leading group down to just 4 women within reach of each other. And it still, at this point, looks like she's out for a training run. She looks like she's doing mile intervals right now, but except there's no mile rush. She's just a 1 by 1 by 1, and she is ticking them over, and she looks so relaxed and so smooth. It is going to take a monumental effort to steal this race away from Rachel Joyce. We have a lot of running left to do, but she looks very, very comfortable. Greg.
You know, the last time we saw Rachel running last year and then the year before, Rachel never used to run up on her toes like this that much. She was a bit of a heel striker, pretty heavy heel striker, and she sort of had turnover and a lot of momentum from her hips, so she had a really nice cadence. But now you can see that she's getting off the forefoot, off the front of the foot there, and that creates a little bit more power, a little bit more in a stride length as well. I think that the stride length is maybe, probably lengthened about an inch, and that makes a big difference.
Absolutely. That's, if you add an inch up by 90 strides a minute and multiply that by an hour and multiply that by 3, that's a lot more distance you're going to cover at the same RPMs over the marathon. So, we know she has the engine to tick those legs over. If she's grabbing another inch of stride, you're right. That is a lot quicker of a marathon time in the end.
Well, right now our UK leader on the women's side is not Leander Cave. It is not Chrissy Wellington. It is Rachel Joyce, and she is running a beautiful race right now. She's doing a good job of it, as we can see that she's running down a leaky drive, almost coming up on that Timex Ironman watch bonus. We've got some more numbers coming to you right now, courtesy of Training Peaks and TrainingPeaks.com. AJ has been absolutely gracious enough to share all the information with us. So Meredith Kessler, on the first half of the bike ride, she was riding at about 223 watts. At the second half, she was down to about 204 watts, and that's great pacing because she's not too far away from about 20 watts. You want about a 20 watt window for a very good average. So 3.6 watts per kilogram, which is very impressive, and Luke Mckenzie was 3.9 per kilogram. So I tell you what, Meredith Kessler, just like Luke Mckenzie, has done a great job of pacing today. Meredith Kessler's caloric burn rate was at about 3,760 calories over this point of time. So that was an amazing pacing by not only Meredith Kessler, but by Luke Mckenzie. So congratulations to those guys for having a very good pacing race. So thanks to TrainingPeaks.com. Live coverage of the run segment is brought to you by Rods Racing, fueled by Idaho Potatoes. RODS stands for Racing for Orphans with Down Syndrome. You can learn more about their work to help these children at rodsracing.org. Matt, this is impressive. Look at Rachel Joyce. It's going through another area of the aid stations there. She's pouring the ice down the front there, trying to keep the glands cool, trying to lower that core temperature.
Yes, Greg, and we just have the leaderboard that came up, and as good as Rachel Joyce is running, Miranda Carfrey has pulled almost 4 minutes back at this point in the race. So with as good as Rachel looks, Miranda Carfrey is absolutely sprinting down a leaky drive right now. As you see Rachel Joyce coming up on one of our male pros, Thomas Gerlach. She's coming up on his shoulder, going to try to pace off him for as long as she can. And don't forget that the women started 5 minutes behind the men, so she's gaining some time.
Matt, let's focus our thoughts back to 2012. With Miranda Carfrey, it was the closest she's ever been to the course at the front. Getting off the bike ride last year, she was well within striking distance. She went out way too hard. She almost ran up onto the back of Leander Cave at the 14-mile mark. and then things went a little bit haywire for her. Then she ended up, back in third place. Now, you see what Rachel Joyce is doing. She's been absolutely perfect in the pacing, and Meredith Kessler, who is just, standing at about 1 minute behind Rachel Joyce right now, is running that perfect race as well. Meredith's right on pace. I think that what Meredith's learned over the years is how to pace properly. Rachel has as well. Last year, Rachel ran a 3:12. Miranda Carfrey can run a 2:52. We already know that, but it's what she does in the first part of the race could set her up for a win or set herself up for a disaster. And what's it going to be?
Yeah, I think you're right, Greg. And I think important to note is that Rachel went through some illness and some sickness last year, so that 3:12 isn't quite indicative of what she's capable of. I think she was more like a 3:05 or 3:03 to 3:07 the years before that. So she's capable of near a 3 hour. But you're right, Miranda Carfrey, that's what we were doing the math, me and Chris, when we were in transition, is that 8 minutes is kind of the magic number. If Miranda Carfrey runs a good race for her, she's going to be able to catch someone like Rachel Joyce. But your point on what she learned from last year, to me, that's why I'm very impressed with how much time Miranda Carfrey is pulling back on Rachel Joyce right now. Miranda is a very smart athlete. Her husband is a very smart athlete. She will not make the mistake of going out too hard in this race. I think she's always going to she's going to think that she needs to hold back on the throttle just a little bit. The year she won this race, she absolutely hauled the last 10 miles. She negative split. I don't know if it was an actual negative split, but her energy and her effort went up the last 10 miles of this race. She knows that if she runs like that, she is going to just eat up a massive amount of time on her competitors.
Yeah, she will, and this is a wonderful part of the course, just going past the local coffee shop there, brought to you by Rod's Racing, fueled by Idaho potatoes. Rachel Joyce leading right now. She's at 9 miles into our GoPro Ironman World Championship, and the UK lass is doing a very good job at the moment. She's running really nicely. We've been commenting on her turnover at this point in time. It looks very good. No signs of weakness whatsoever. This is about the point of the time as well where Sebastian Kinley was struggling a little bit. When Sebastian Kinley was at 7.3 miles, he was down to 154. By the time he got to the top of the hill at 10.5 miles, it went back out to 220. So he lost a good chunk of 26 seconds in those few miles going through town. So I think that Sebastian, just went through that one little down spot, and now he's back into it. But for this young lady, she looks great.
Absolutely, she looks awesome. And just for a second, I'm going to go back to those numbers that we got from Training Peaks. AJ, Meredith Kessler, I think it was 3.6 watts per kilogram is what you said she averaged for the bike ride. That is unbelievable. About 7 or 8 years ago, me and my brother started using power and started getting numbers from these other athletes that were out there. Neko Llanos one year was second off the bike. His watts per kilo were 3.85. So someone like Meredith Kessler to be that close to a male, and in general, women always put a little bit less in watts per kilo. It's just how the physiological system works there. And everybody has brought their game up. Luke Mckenzie, I did intervals with him this summer, and Ironman intervals. He's doing 4.2 watts per kilogram, 4.4. So everybody's brought up their game with the ability to use a system like Training Peaks and look at their data when they're done training, and to learn from that and to continue to notch it up just a little bit. And obviously, Rachel Joyce has used some of that data to make sure she paces well, because she looks quite smooth on it.
She's quite smooth. She's quite smart too. She was an attorney, a lawyer, before she became pro athlete here. She practiced back in London there, and now she turns herself to training and racing professionally as an Ironman triathlete. So you can see that right now,
watch out.
One of our spectators was very excited, wanted to get out and give a shout out to Rachel Joyce, and ran right into the path of another competitor.
I think we know that spectator, but we won't call her out on air.
Yeah.
But Rachel Joyce making that turn, that means she's got another right-hand turn and not so long, and she's going to be heading up Palani, and looks like she'll cash that check for $5,000 as well.
Yep, providing she gets across that finish line. So Rod's Racing, fueled by Idaho potatoes. You can see that Rachel Joyce is coming right along Kuakini Highway right now. She's about 600 yards away from collecting that Timex Ironman watch bonus. She has around about a 58 second lead on Meredith Kessler at the moment, but that could spread out just that little bit more as we're seeing this girl running a great race right now. Yeah, Luke Mckenzie still leading our race out on the course as well. Frederick Van Leard is in second place. So at the 16.4 mile mark, Luke Mckenzie went through there at 7 hours and 3 minutes onto the race clock. So he's at about coming up to that 18 mile mark. So he's almost about to coming up to that 17 mile mark. So he's almost about to come back out of that Energy Lab area. So he's right down in the thick of things right now.
Yeah, no, he's where it all happens, and you know, this is the spot you prepare for. You know, he's been in Kona a lot of years in the past, and he's been here for a few weeks before this race, and he's been training in this zone. And you have to get your head around the Energy Lab, or else it's going to take energy from you. And I think if you're an athlete that enjoys pain, enjoys the suffering of the sport, you actually learn to gain some energy from the Energy Lab. And I know Luke Mckenzie's found himself in that headspace in this spot before, and this is where he's trying to get during this race today, is gaining energy from the Energy Lab, not giving the energy away. He does look like his stride is shortened just a little bit, but as we said, this is a tough section of road, but Luke still looks comfortable, he still looks relaxed in his shoulders, and he's hanging on very strong.
He's hanging on, I think, Matt, but I don't think much else from that at the moment. I think that Luke's real struggling at the moment. Yeah. You can see that he's got his eyes, you know, tucked behind those shades. He's got his hat tucked down a little bit more right now. He's dropping his shoulders, he's dropping his chin, his arms are coming down, his stride length has shortened up. Well, I just hope that he hangs in there. I mean, he's definitely slowed down. Freddie Van Leard now, he will be looking down the road there and seeing what is happening with Luke Mckenzie. I think that Luke is dropping his head a lot now.
Yeah, you might have called me out for being a little biased there. I know
not at all.
The heart breaks for you know, a competitor, but also a good buddy. But no, Luke is looking really well. He can hold this on for sure. But Frederick Van Leard, you're right, he is in the driver's seat right now. The part that people forget about the Energy Lab is this is where you're able to spot your competitors when the pain has really absorbed them.
Absolutely.
And you really cannot hide in the Energy Lab, and you get an eyesight. And I guarantee you, Frederick Van Leard took a little look over the left, saw Luke Mckenzie, and he knew that he had the opportunity. He needs to accelerate and grab on Luke Mckenzie, and Luke the same is going to look at Frederick and know what kind of energy he has.
All right, so he's dropping his chin a lot right now. We've got a split screen right now, Matt. Let's make use of it. Let's look at Rachel Joyce's turnover as opposed to Luke Mckenzie's. The speed of the turnover with Rachel Joyce right now, and she's actually running uphill.
Yeah.
Okay, now you've got Luke Mckenzie. You can see that Luke's foot speed has definitely slowed down. You can see that his stride has shortened a little bit, and he is struggling with his upper body just a little bit.
Yeah.
Rachel Joyce is just about to hit the Timex Ironman watch bonus. She'll be taking that $5,000 home with her. She's about 100 yards off that at the moment. So here she goes, Rachel Joyce from the UK, looking very good. Look at that turnover. She's still keeping it going. She's still keeping that high arm drive, Matt. Yeah. And the turnover, she's driving those quadricep muscles right now.
Yeah. There you go. She's got the Timex Ironman watch bonus, $5,000 in her pocket. As you said, if she crosses the finish line, all she has to do is finish. We hear Lovato in the background. Yeah, he knows Rachel pretty well, so giving a little encouragement as she goes by. But she looks very smooth. She definitely did not. Doesn't look like this hill is going to slow her momentum down. At least her pace is going to slow, but everybody is going to slow at this point. But Rachel Joyce now, this is one of the toughest parts on the course. You know, people look at the Hawaii Ironman run course and they think it's not that hard. You know, everybody knows the Energy Lab, blah, 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 it's hot, it's hard. If you're not out here, you can't feel the unbelievable heat when you get that dead wind behind you. Very, very hot down there, but this is one of the damaging parts of the course. It is a tough, tough hill.
All right, well, Rachel Joyce leads the 2013 GoPro Ironman World Championship. Is it going to be running off to a victory? Can Luke Mckenzie hang on? We're going to have to just, wait and see. Yeah, but Luke Mckenzie right now, he's doing a great job. But let's talk a little bit about, Rachel Joyce. Okay, we're going to go off to a break, and we'll give you a bit of an update on the course when we come back. You're watching the 2013 GoPro Ironman World Championship.
Every racer knows the finish line changes you. Start your next race as a Rod-sponsored athlete, and Idaho Potatoes will make a donation in your name to help turn your finish line into the start of an amazing new life for a child with special needs. Just drop your email address at www.rodsracing.org, then go enjoy the Ironman. Go to www.rodsracing.org. Rods Racing is fueled by Idaho Potatoes. www.rodsracing.org.
X2 Performance is a new dietary nutritional supplement. The main benefit to every athlete is it helps to generate and regenerate ATP. ATP is the body's essential unit of energy. So this is what drives your body on everything. So everything you do, we help to give you more ATP, which essentially gives you more energy, helps with your endurance, and also helps with recovery. We have pros that are using the product. We have age groupers that are using the product. We have a couple of our sponsored athletes who are here that are using the product. We also have professional sports teams from the NFL and the NBA and Major League Baseball that are using this. So it's good for the endurance athlete, and it's good for the everyday athlete who just wants to be able to do more and feel better doing it. So you can purchase a product at our website at x2performance.com. And for the next couple of weeks, we have a special promotion to celebrate the 35-year anniversary of the Ironman World Championship. You can enter code Ironman35 and receive 35% off. And also be sure to follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and you can follow along all the athletes that are having success using the product throughout the year at a lot of these races.
Welcome back to the 2013 GoPro Ironman World Championship. We trust that you are enjoying our exclusive live coverage today. It's been an absolutely incredible race so far with our swimming and our biking out there on the tier swim course and a specialised bike course, but everything is coming down to the Newton Run course right now. Luke Mckenzie is leading our race at the moment, but only by 15 seconds. You can see that Freddie Van Leard is almost ready to catch our leader here. Luke Mckenzie is certainly out there struggling, but now all Luke has to do is put one foot in front of the other, get some nutrition in, and go for a podium. Freddie Van Leard has been waiting for this moment for a long time. We remember how tough it was last year when Freddie Van Leard came up on Andreas Raymond.
Yeah.
Andreas, right at the very end there, Matt, was incredibly strong, but right now this is the defining moment.
It is a defining moment, Greg, and you can tell Luke's head is bobbing around a little bit. He's definitely tired. What you need to remember, and I think Luke has learned from many years of watching this race, training with my brother, you know, it's you have to know what your goals are, and I think you're right. I think he needs to think of podium. I think he needs to not try to go with Frederick when Frederick goes by him, because Frederick obviously has a tank of energy, and if he wants to go right by, he's going to go right by. Nothing exchanged between the two. Frederick definitely just accelerated to go through Luke Mckenzie, and Luke just needs to hold on and make sure he doesn't lose too much time and do it right now from here forward and from a few miles back forward. Luke needs to do what he needs to do to get to the finish line. If he gets to the finish line running, he's going to have an absolute breakthrough performance in the Ironman World Championships. He just needs to make sure he maintains control and he doesn't reach too far outside of what he's able to do in the moment, because this race will absolutely tear you apart if you try to get too much.
Ever since late June, the Belgian has gone away. He has shut it down. No more racing, he said. No more hard racing until the Ironman in Kona. Spoke to his agent, that is Jackie Everhard from France, and he said that every piece of energy was going to be thrown at this race. He's gone away. He's done his training, and now he finds himself leading the Ironman on the run course for the very first time. Frederick Van Leard has now overtaken Luke Mckenzie and surged to the front.
Yeah, and he did that. He was very assertive. That's them just making the turn now. That was an assertive move by Frederick Van Leard. He looks smooth, looks strong. As you said, you're right. He definitely shut himself down the last few months. This was the race that he was focused for. He planned his season around being good for this race, even doing Ironman Nice earlier in the year. He was racing that race with focus on the GoPro Ironman World Championships here today. And one thing that we noticed when we weren't getting interviews from Frederick Van Leard, he was kind of a disappearing act this week. He's a professional and he's going to do what he needs to do for his sponsors, but you can tell he was very, very focused on this race and did not want to be distracted. He was in a headspace where he knew if he focused on this race, he had a chance to win. And right now, it is going to take a superhuman effort to rip this race away from Frederick Van Leard.
Yeah, exactly. So when we were commenting on Luke when he was running down into the energy lab, it did certainly look like he was, losing speed there. While Freddie Van Leard, he's so consistent. He's almost like Faris Al Sultan, where Faris has just been so consistent for so long, And now we see Rachel Joyce, just coming through another aid station here. You can see that Rachel is just ever so slightly moving away from the women's field at the moment. She had a 57-second lead at the 7-mile mark. At the top of Palani Hill, at the 10.5-mile mark, she's got 1:35 now. So wow. Rachel Joyce is just, going away from the rest of the field at the moment, making sure that she takes in all the nutrition out on course, getting that Coke in, getting the water in, getting the power bar perform in. She's making sure that the ice is going down the chest and making sure that that core temperature stays low.
Absolutely, Greg, and she's a pro, and she hit every spot in that aid station that she wanted to, and she knew 400 meters going into that aid station what exactly she wanted to do, and she went and took it. And that split, you had to second place. That shows that she's running well. She's running well, better than the two athletes behind her. The athlete that I think we're most concerned about for Rachel Joyce, or if Rachel Joyce, you're going to be most concerned about Miranda Carfrey. She is running quite well. And she has the ability to run. As we said, she's run a low 250 marathon. She's an athlete, she's capable of running sub 250 if she's on an amazing day. So you're going to have a great day to hold Miranda Carfrey out. But right now, this is Rachel Joyce's race. She was the one in that group. We talk about women's tactics. She was the one she was okay being in a group. And then at 70, 80 miles, she turned around when we turned back on the highway. It was Rachel's turn to make sure that the girls that were going to stay with her had to work to stay there. And I think that was because she wanted a gap like she has now, and she wanted to stay as far away from Miranda Carfrey as she possibly could.
Yes, exactly. And I remember a couple of years ago that, she just was riding right around that, Mary Beth Ellis, Leander Cave all day long.
Yeah.
And these girls are really strong. But it didn't really happen for Rachel on the run. She did have a top 5 finish, but now she's gone away. She's done her training. And, you just have to be patient with this. It just happens over time. It just doesn't happen, 1 year later. And now, like 2 years after that good race in the top 5, she can find herself, leading the GoPro Ironman World Championship. And deservedly so. She was really strong on the bike this year, like toward the end there, her and Meredith Kessler were the two girls that were really pushing the pace. Yes, and if Training Peaks gave us some, vital information on, the stats, the wattage that was pushed out by Meredith Kessler, with 227 and then down near the 200s on the way back. There was only a 20 watt, difference in going out and coming back, which is really good. I mean, if you've got a 50 watt droppage, that it's not that great in pacing. Yeah. But today, Rachel Joyce has I bet you she has exactly the same numbers because, Meredith Kessler, although she may stand a couple of inches taller than Rachel Joyce, they are still, I think they have the same sort of muscle compounds. And I think, they look the same. So here goes Luke Mckenzie there, Matt, going through the special needs, and I think that's a welcome relief for him.
Absolutely, and that's important for those of you that haven't done the World Championships here in Kona or in Ironman in general. That's special needs. It's about, 8 miles to go, Greg? And it's a place where you can pack a bag for yourself that you get to take treats out of later in the day. Luke probably didn't have many treats in there. He had the essentials. He had a flask full of his nutrition that he likes, probably a concentrated calorie source for him. So he's going to be able to get what he needs to come out of a little bit of a hole that he might be in right now. And I don't think he's in too much of a hole. Frederick Van Leard is absolutely cruising right now in front of him.
Yeah, he's got 7 miles to go now. Yep. And you know what, Matt? He looks better than he did 2 minutes ago.
I think you're right.
He looks way better than what he did 2 minutes ago. When Freddie was catching him, I think two things was happening. First thing was that he was blowing up a little bit. He was bonking a little bit. And secondly, that throws you off a little bit, and his nutrition, was just way up. And having someone like Freddie or the second place, hunt you down, leading the Ironman World Championship is possibly the hardest thing to do. To close it out is even harder.
Yes, sir.
Now, for Luke Mckenzie, he's never been in that position on the run before. He's led the bike before last year and a few years back. But today, he's putting himself in a position where he's never been before. So there might be a little bit of pressure on him there, but I can just see that the pace is just, creeping up just that little bit more. So I think Luke's going to be just fine to make his way back into town. And if he's good enough, I think it's going to be good for about, a podium finish or so. However, let's look at Rachel Joyce. I think that Rachel Joyce here is just looking really, really good. She hasn't really shown us any signs of weakness whatsoever today, and her turnover still looks the same as what it was on Elite You Drive 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, she looks unbelievable, Greg. And as we were talking about Luke Mckenzie, you're right. It's quite hard to see to stay in the lead of a race like that. And I think, Luke he's going to do what he can do, but he also wants to make Frederick take that first place away from him. So you're right, you're a little distracted. Maybe for that mile and a half before the pass happened, Luke was trying to look tough and maybe not drink as much, or it's just distracted, and maybe he's not able to put as much nutrition in as possible. And he's able to recover a little bit. One side note, we saw Jordan Rapp just walk by the studio asking where medical was. He was breathing very deeply. Had his manager with him, and he's heading out to the medical area to try to get some help.
Also, Sonia Tajic looking like she's not going to be finishing the race as well today. So unfortunately, last year's 4th place finisher is out of the race as well. We talked about it just a moment ago there, and Rachel Joyce right now, Matt, her arms are still in the same position. They have not changed one single bit. Her legs are still driving. She looks as tough as they come today, and she's done a great race. She's fueled her body right. She's paced right. Let's look at Luke Mckenzie. When we take a quick and a nice tight look at his chest there, you can see that his arms are back up where they were before. Yep. His head's not dropping. He's got the head looking straight forward again. He's not looking down at the ground. When you're looking down at the ground, it's a sure sign that things aren't going your way. His turnover's a little bit better. His knee drive is back up where it was before. He looks way better. He looks a lot better, Greg, and a lot of times, this is a very hot section of the race, but it's a little bit of an uphill, and a lot of time a little uphill can help you kind of reset your biomechanics, right? Your foot is striking where it needs to be when you're running smooth and leaning forward. So Luke Mckenzie, you can tell by this picture, he's found his own rhythm again, and he's running what Luke Mckenzie can run right now, and that's all Luke needs to do, and he has a podium absolutely within reach, a second place, a very likely possibility. He just needs to keep running to the finish line. He is such a finely tuned athlete that if he's just running, the slowest he's going to run is a 7:15, 7:20 mile at this point, because he's that good of an athlete. He just needs to keep running, and he's going to get to that finish line and have a great result. Yeah, exactly. I think you're right there, mate. And by the look of it, the 2013 GoPro Ironman World Championship may be seeing 2 new leaders and winners, here pretty soon. And I think that, Rachel Joyce is doing enough as we talk about the women's race right now. And also Meredith Kessler, she's never been on the podium here at the Ironman World Championship. And today might be one of those days that it happens for Meredith Kessler. But by looking at it, you've got to take history into account and know that Freddie Van Leard, over the last couple of years has been getting stronger and stronger. Last year he almost took 2nd place. He did take 3rd place. He went and repeated his win this year in Ironman France, way down in the Côte d'Azur, down in Nice, southern France there. And today, now he finds himself in the lead of our race. But Rachel Joyce there is still heading out toward the Energy Lab, whereas we see Freddie Van Leard, he's about to make that right-hand turn back onto the Queen K for the very last time today, and this will be on the run course, so you'll have about 10.5 kilometres to run, or 6.2 miles, or 6.3 miles to run when he hits the top of the Queen K Highway. Yeah, it looks like he's having a great race right now. He's smooth, and as we said, he's looked like he's been contained all day. And if we do the math on that, he's still going to be a very, very low 8-hour Ironman time here. And that's with an athlete that we assume, and it appears to us the way he's running, that he's been running contained and holding back to a certain extent, because he knows this last 10K is really where the damage happens. And right now we see, kind of a landmark of the Energy Lab on this overhead shot. This is where Ironman World Championship dreams are made and broken within this zone. We'll see athletes turn that left-hand turn into Energy Lab with a 10-minute lead, and when they come out, they're 30 minutes down. It can absolutely crush people, and it can be where athletes make their day. And Frederick Van Leard has made his move in the middle of the Energy Lab before the turnaround, and he looks very smooth right now. Great shot of Frederick Van Leard going through an aid station. As we say, a pro is not just one who trains well or races well. It's one that makes sure he cools himself down at proper times. Right there, I think we saw Frederick Van Leard putting ice in his hat as he started that aid station. And Luke Mckenzie is right now, we would say he's just ticking him over. He's just ticking him over, trying to get up that hill, he really wants to get to that right-hand turn on the highway, Greg, because right when you get to that right-hand, right now there's a tailwind and it feels so hot running up here. And you just want to turn right because you get the side wind and it feels it's still hot, but it feels a lot cooler. Yeah, it's going to be really nice for Luke Mckenzie when he hits that highway for the last time. He's going to get a little bit of relief from the wind, absolutely. Yes, Luke Mckenzie right now finds himself in 2nd place. Sebastian Kinley in 3rd place. Tyler Butterfield in 4th place at the moment. Now, Tyler Butterfield, he is only 9 minutes and 23 2-3 seconds down. That's absolutely fantastic. And Faris El Sultan, the 2005 GoPro World Champion, well, he's in 5th place, just where he finished last year. Ever so consistent.
You would have to describe Faris as a legend. That's the only word I can think of when describing him. I mean, he was at the top of the game in 2005, obviously, almost winning from wire to wire. I think he was 3rd place out of the water, just 20 seconds back. And he led the whole day pretty much straight from the beginning of the bike ride. And now, 2 years in a row, he's been running in the top 5 very, very late into the marathon. Last year, finishing out 6th place. That guy is an absolute legend. And, he's got a style of his own, and it's worked for him since the beginning, and no reason to change it.
Freddie Van Leard hails from Belgium. He's coached and advised by Luc Van Leard.
Yeah.
From Belgium as well. He is a 2-time Ironman world champion, also a former course record holder. Luc Van Leard from Belgium is going to be very, very happy at the moment as he sees Freddie Van Leard just going through the race right now. Our age group athletes, Kyle Buckingham from South Africa, he was the first age grouper off the bike. He's in the 30 to 34 age group, and he biked a 440.07, which is awesome, and he averaged 273 watts, 3.8 watts per kilogram, so that was awesome.
Wow.
It was very, very good. It's almost the same as the pro men, so it was a very good race by Kyle Buckingham. So unbelievable. An American Brad Williams in the 25 to 29 age group biked a 441.43, 7th in the age group, so off the bike he averaged 234 watts, which is about 3.2 watts per kilogram. So very well done to Brad Williams and also to Kyle Buckingham. That's great efforts today.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've got a friend that's in the same age group as Kyle Buckingham, and he said this is Kyle's plan was to go pro after this race. And at this point, Kyle's having a great race, riding his bike just like the pros would, just only 7 seconds from breaking 440 in Kona. That is remarkable.
Yeah, that is remarkable for an age grouper, absolutely. So we see Luke Mckenzie there. But I want to update you on the women's course at the moment because we've got a big mover in the field, and that is the 2010 champion, Miranda Carfrey. Miranda Carfrey is now down to almost 2 minutes behind Rachel Joyce. She is catching up onto the back of Meredith Kessler, and now we see that Miranda Carfrey is showing us what she did last year. She got to the front of this race on the run course at the moment. Like last year, it took a little bit of time, but she went out very, very hard on the run. Yeah. She got up onto Leander's shoulder around about this point of time where Rachel is right now.
Yeah.
So she's going a little bit slower getting toward the front of the course. So we could have a very exciting finish or at the turnaround at the Energy Lab for our women.
Absolutely, Greg, and I think you're right. I think she is pacing herself quite well, and it's quite scary if she is brought back almost 6 minutes on Rachel Joyce, which with as good as we see Rachel Joyce running, she's brought that back possibly while holding herself back from lessons she learned last year. We might see a shocking run split from Miranda Carfrey today.
Yeah, exactly, and I got to tell you what, the X2 performance of the day today was an absolutely incredible run, and that is Freddie Van Leard coming up onto the shoulder of Luke Mckenzie right at the turnaround of our run course today, just after 17 miles of the course. So the X2 performance power move of the day is Freddie Van Leard. If you go to www.x2performance.com and use the code IRONMAN35, you will receive 35% off today. So go to www.x2performance.com, use the code IRONMAN35 to receive you 35% off. The power move of the day by X2 Performance goes to Freddie Van Leard.
Yeah, absolutely amazing performance so far from Freddie Van Leard, and we're expecting him to continue that performance here for the next little bit less than 10K. Another athlete we looked at the women's coverage that is having a great race, Yvonne Van Lierkin has moved up as well. She's now in 5th place, only 5 minutes down, so she's running probably from what we see, second best maybe to Miranda Carfrey. We're going to have to look at the splits a little bit closer. She's doing quite well. Amanda Stevens holding strong. Gina Crawford is a little bit back out of transition. She's moving up. Jody Swallow has dropped back a little bit. It looks like she's trying to hang on to the top 10. But now's a nice out and back section where we'll see Frederick Van Leard running, and we'll see the women passing him the other direction. We might see Rachel Joyce here pretty quick. But Frederick Van Leard, Greg, he looks so smooth. He doesn't look any different than he did the first 10K of this run, and he's running away with the Ironman World Championships right now.
At the moment, he's running away with it. He's got a 49-second lead at the 19-mile mark, which is right at the top of the Energy Lab there And as you were saying there, we're just talking a little bit about Rachel Joyce, Miranda Carfrey, and Yvonne Van Lierkin.
Yep.
Yvonne Van Lierkin right now is running the second fastest to Miranda Carfrey. The third fastest is Rachel Joyce at this point in time. So the one that looks like is really moving in on the lead is Miranda Carfrey. Yvonne Van Lierkin is still 5 minutes down on Rachel Joyce. It doesn't look like she's going to have enough real estate to catch Rachel Joyce.
Sure.
However, it looks like that Miranda Carfrey may come up onto the back of Meredith Kessler really soon and challenge for Rachel Joyce's lead position. So Freddie Van Leard there is doing a great job of it. He's inside of the last 5 miles now to come back into town. He's looking very good as we see our women runners heading out on course. That is Rachel Joyce running out there really nicely today. Her stride is so nice. Her arms are still in position, and I tell you what, she's been solid.
She looks really good. We had a little acrobatic move there from the cameraman as well. And walking, do you recognize who that was, Greg?
Don't know who that was, just out there on the course walking, but a very courageous move, just to get to that finish line. You know what I really like about Rachel Joyce's run style? Over the last 2 years, it's changed. She is dropping her shoulders forward. She's leaning forward, creating gravity. Gravity is going to propel you forward, provided you lean like that.
Absolutely.
But you've got to have the confidence to lengthen your stride. Right now, Rachel Joyce is doing just that. Chin down. She's got her elbows and shoulders pointing forward there, or elbows running back, across the front of the body. Knee drive is really good, but I think that over the last 2 years, Rachel's run stride has increased by about an inch and a half, and also she is pointing her shoulders all the way down to the ground, creating that fall forward momentum.
Yeah, I think you're right, Greg. Great to notice, those little cues. It's hard to notice exactly what athletes are doing different, but I think you nailed it. And I think you have to have the confidence to kind of let yourself fall forward, but you have to do the little things. You have to do the core. You have to have that core stability. It's not just crunches. It's it's functional fitness and having good awareness of what your body's actually doing. And she's obviously put in the work to do that. And now she's able to run faster. And as you said, extend herself forward, use gravity to run for her, and also at the same time lengthening that stride. And she looks amazing in the top right of our corner. And so does Frederick Van Leard on the left of our screen.
All right, then I think we've got Chris McDonald standing by in town somewhere. Chris, are you there?
For all that great information on the women's race. When Michael and I were standing here earlier watching Miranda Carfrey come up this hill, she was moving like nobody we saw even in the men's race. It's
the question is,
like you say, there's
fast?
Women moving through the field.
I think she can hold it
they're
if it
pacing
is.
themselves, and they have to think about their nutrition. Obviously, Rennie's really thought about it. And we've just got a new product here from Ironman. It's the IRONMAN Sports Blender, which is a blender that blends directly into a sports bottle. I'm sure these ladies and gents out on the course have utilized this or something like this, in their daily training needs. But nutrition is a very, very important part of Ironman, and the folks at Ironman Blender have really thought about it, being able to blend it directly into a bottle. And these can be found at ironmanfitnessblender.com. The action here on Palani is really heated up with all the age groupers coming out up the hill now. But let's go back to the action at the front of the race with you guys back in the studio.
All right, thank you very much there, Chris. Absolutely fantastic. I'll be whipping up a smoothie a little bit later on with my Ironman blender. Absolutely. We're going to run off to a break, and we'll see you on the other side. Freddie Van Leard and Rachel Joyce lead the 2013 GoPro Ironman World Championship.
At Earbuds, we took the inspiration and motivation concept and really translated it from earphones that never hurt, never fall out, to the athlete that never stops. And that's really where the never stop message came from. And we continue to evolve as a company and a brand to really help support the athlete to never stop and always accomplishing more. This year, we've come out with a Signature Series product. And the Signature Series product, of course, has to have the signature of Pete Jacobs, the current Ironman World Champion. And what we've done with this product, it not only has the award-winning ergonomics that never hurt and never fall out, it also has incredible sound, and it comes with a reflective cord. And the reflective cord, obviously, for athletes that train in the early morning hours or in the evening, they're able to have the reflective cord for added safety. The other thing our athletes have told us is they are running more with their smartphones. And as they run with their smartphones, it's sometimes difficult to access in an armband. So we've come out with the Earbuds race case. And the race case allows you to hold your iPhone or your smartphone in your hand while you're running, and then you can actually check how you're doing with your app, whether it's Strava or Runkeeper or Map My Run, and then you can see how you're doing, and you can also change tracks. You can answer a call, or see a text as well. So it's a really handy feature. It comes with great ergonomics and is usable on either hand. We want to give a shout out to our athletes who are racing on Saturday. Pete Jacobs, Miranda Carfrey, T.O., TJ, Amanda, and Meredith. We want to ask them to continue to inspire us and never stop motivating us.
Welcome back to the 2013 GoPro Ironman World Championship, and welcome back into the studio right now, Michael Lovato. Michael, you've been out there watching this race unfold in front of us right now. Luke Mckenzie had a very good start to the race today. Great swim, great bike, and right up until a few moments ago when Freddie Van Leard overtook Luke Mckenzie for our lead right now. So the Australian has now fallen back into second position. Sebastian Kinley is sitting about 4 minutes back, but Freddie Van Leard, X2 Performance move of the day.
Oh, absolutely. And you know what? We talked about this earlier. When you shoot for a certain thing, you end up in a great spot. And I think with Luke Mckenzie shooting for the win, it puts him in a good spot. Realistically, was he ready to win? I think we're seeing no, but he was realistic, ready for a podium. And so ultimately, he's been in the top 10. The next move is to step up. And so same with Freddie. Last year, he was probably shooting for the win, and he ended up on third spot. Now we're seeing him take control and have that win in his pocket.
Well, I tell you right now, Freddie doesn't look so crash hot if you ask me, but I think that he's got enough momentum going on at the moment. But he was just, wobbling his head, just looking down a little bit, just, wonking around a little bit. But I think his momentum is good enough and his cadence is good enough, Matt. But right now, he's definitely slowed down the pace a touch.
Yeah, I think maybe he has, but I think he's in a very comfortable space. And as we look at the Rods Racing leaderboard, Frederick Van Leard only has 49 seconds on Luke Mckenzie. That's a comfortable lead if he can run within himself, but that does show it seems like Luke Mckenzie has been able to regroup, get the nutrition in, hold it together, and Luke Mckenzie is still over 3 minutes in front of Sebastian Kinley. Again, Tyler Butterfield having an amazing race. I would say the race of the day at this point, 8:49 behind the leader, fourth place. I think if you told that guy he'd be running in the top 5 with 10K to go 2 months ago, he'd be absolutely ecstatic.
Yeah, exactly. So
who wouldn't be?
Yeah, Freddie Van Leard from Belgium is leading our race right now, looking very good. And you can see that going out the other way, Rachel Joyce just heading out to the Energy Lab. And here she comes. Miranda Carfrey is absolutely flying. She has now passed Meredith Kessler and has her sights on Rachel Joyce. Now, over the last couple of miles, we know that Miranda Carfrey has been running a lot faster than Rachel Joyce. But boys, did we expect this?
Well, I think so. I mean, here's the thing. This is the Miranda that we know is capable. This is the Miranda that we saw win the title. Yeah, this is the Miranda that we see go in there and charge up. This is not Miranda from last year. We do see portions of this in last year's race, but this is the Miranda that is absolutely carrying herself with utter confidence. She is flying, and she's been doing that this whole time. When we watched her run up Palani, she looked better than anyone, men or women, period. She absolutely looked phenomenal. You probably saw that footage. But Miranda has that ability. A lot of people do not have this ability. She has the ability to go out, quote, too fast and still recover. So a lot of them cannot do that. You saw Craig Alexander do that when he won in 2011, going out way too fast, but just holding on all day long. So that's what Randy's doing right now.
Miranda Carfrey, she owns the run course record at a 2:52.09, and today it looks like she's back on the form that she was in 2010, Matt. She wears 111 today, and I tell you what, she's heading toward that number 1. She is now hunting down Rachel Joyce.
Yeah, no, that's a good number for her. But yeah, she looks smooth. I mean, and she is absolutely flying, but she looks really comfortable still. I mean, obviously you're right, Michael. I think she's pushing and I think she's running confidently, but it doesn't look like she's running that 5% too hard where she starts to get a little bit loose. I think she's running within herself, and as you said, that's the type of athlete she is. She needs to be aggressive, but I think maybe she's learned from last year that she needs to be a little bit more contained, but being contained, she still has almost brought back 8 minutes at this point on Rachel Joyce.
Which is unbelievable because we talked about how good of a runner, how good of an athlete Rachel Joyce is.
Yeah.
A couple things to note. Rachel Joyce does not have actual proper podium experience. So we talk about what that means in this race.
Sure.
Okay, she did have the theoretical launch toward podium, but she doesn't have that yet. She went 6th, 5th, 4th. So she's in uncharted territory. She's out there, and that only really matters from an emotional standpoint. She's never gone into the Energy Lab with the lead or even on that podium. So this is where it comes down to, again, that dynamic battle of the minds. It's looking at your competitor, Matt, seeing them across the road from you, or seeing them close that gap and managing it.
I think you're right. We were talking about that with Luke Mckenzie as he had a bad patch or a low point while Frederick Van Leard was catching him, and sometimes it's not, it obviously isn't comfortable running in podium position sometimes, and especially with Rachel right now, she needs to hold herself together. She is a mentally very, very strong athlete, as you know, Michael, but she definitely has to make sure she focuses on her race at this point, make it hard for Miranda Carfrey. As we learned a lesson from Leanda Cave. Leanda Cave made it hard for Miranda Carfrey last year, and she ran her off her shoulder. So Rachel Joyce still very much has a great shot at a win here. She needs to stay strong, but Miranda Carfrey is doing the little things she needs to do to win this race, and watch her as she just lets the legs go on a very slight downhill.
Well, boys, Miranda Carfrey now is within 30 seconds of the lead. She was ever so close to Leanda Cave last year before things went backwards on the Rods Racing leaderboard. Here you can see that Rachel Joyce is leading our Miranda Carfrey, but less than 30 seconds right now. That's about 6 seconds. So here we go with the chase of the day. It's been from Miranda Carfrey. Rachel Joyce has been one of the leaders all day long. She had a fantastic swim on the bike ride. Her and Meredith Kessler, Caroline Steffen, Jody Swallow were the aggressors on the bike. Miranda Carfrey, she was digging deep and she hung in there. She was off the bike, just less than 10 minutes behind. And now at 14 miles onto the run course, Miranda Carfrey is now catching up to Rachel Joyce and trying to get into the lead.
You've got it, but you know what? Right there, that's the spot. That's as close as she got to the lead last year. That is the exact gap we saw. She's there. Mind you, this is a whole different year, a whole different story, but that is so cool to see. Rinny is exercising the demons from 12 rather. She is taking the lead, acknowledging her friend and training partner at times, Rachel Joyce. Rachel Joyce said, oh, wait, I'm latching onto that. Not one to give up. You can see very clearly that Rinny has put a surge in. She says, you know what? It's not going to be easy if you want to come with me.
Oh, my goodness, boys. That is a surge of a champion, because remember what happened last year. She got all the way up onto the shoulder of Leanda Cave. Leanda Cave is one of the toughest girls that you will ever race against. And look at this. Miranda Carfrey would only pat, Rachel Joyce on the backside if she was confident enough to go by. And the surge that she's now done, she's got a quick 10 seconds over the last 200 meters on Rachel Joyce. Miranda Carfrey is looking like the one of old, the one of 2010. Look at this runner. We've never seen a runner in the sport of Ironman triathlon like this in history. What comes close to this? Heather Fuhr, Laurie Bowden, Lisa Bentley. These girls were incredible. Chrissy Wellington, Caitlin Snow. Miranda Carfrey won the 2010 Ironman World Championship. She has won 15 Ironman 70.3 races. This year she was second place in Racine. She won the Skoka, 8th place in California at the beginning of the year. She's nicknamed Rinny, and guess what, boys? She is out of action for all you guys, because she is getting hooked up to T.O. O'Donnell after this race. She's getting married, so this is going to be a great present for both of them.
Yeah, way to lock it down, T.O. Best thing you've done in years, deciding to lock Miranda Carfrey down. But you're right, there is not another athlete in the sport that is as aggressive on the marathon, especially on this course, as Miranda Carfrey. And when you get passed by an athlete of that caliber, running that smooth with that much confidence, and one that is polite enough and gracious enough to still give you a congratulations and to encourage you as you go by, she has definitely tightened up Rachel Joyce's stride in the passing. And when you see an athlete that confident run by you, it doesn't make you feel quite as good about your running style. But Rachel Joyce is doing her best to hang on. But Miranda Carfrey has put in quite a gap at this point.
Well, if I was Rachel Joyce, I'd be hanging on. I mean, Miranda put in a big surge there.
You have to remember this, and this is the thing that I say often. When you get caught, you have to put your surge there. This is the thing. That athlete has worked hard to catch you. When you're working that hard, you want a respite. She did not take that. She blew right through. However, Rachel Joyce, do not count her out. I think Rinny looks absolutely phenomenal, but here's the thing. Rinny looks phenomenal even when she's hurting. So that's something that we have to remember. She has the stride we all want. So looking to Rachel Joyce, she's able to now say, okay, Rinny's done with her surge. I'm starting to feel still in this, and I'm not giving up. Am I going to be happy with second or third? Sure, but it's not over until the fat lady sings, and that fat lady is not out here yet. She's not on the Queen K mat. She is not out there. Rachel's ready to hang on, just keep a little motivation, and stay near Miranda.
No, I think you're right.
Miranda's a champ. She's looking pretty good.
She's a great champion. We can see what she's doing out here, but she put in that massive surge. Let's hope that she can hold it all the way down to the special needs area, gets to the turnaround area at the energy lab, and just applies that pressure all the way back in. But Rachel Joyce, she's not going to go anywhere. She's a very tough racer. She's gone up to another level, I think. Her running's improved. We've been talking about her style, running up, more on a forefoot. She's got that shoulder lean. But if you want to know how to run, you just look at this girl. Look at her turnover. She's got a fantastic drive. She's got a very square set of hips, and that is very strong in the core area. Yep. She's got a fantastic knee drive. Her ankles and her feet, great posture, and her foot plant is really, really good. But what really impresses me is how fast the cadence is on the run.
I mean, and here's the thing, not to discount what you were saying earlier about posture and using gravity and leaning forward, but okay, I'm going to discount that. What you really want to do when you're running a marathon like this is to stand upright and be able to keep that posture in a more erect position. Miranda does that with perfection, whether she's going up a hill or down a hill. You never want to have a forward lean, even though you may be inclined to do so. I'll make an example. If you feel like you're bending over, or if you see yourself bending over, it shortens the powerful hip flexor muscles. It prevents them, it pinches them off. We talk a lot about it on the bike, the closed angle. You do not want to close that angle. What you want to do is use that position, exactly a side shot of Miranda where she's completely erect, standing straight up, and she is pushing with all her force in a backwards direction. There's not a lot of up and down wasted movement. It is pushing with those giant glutes that she has. I'm not calling her butt big. The very large glute muscles are working to perfection, pushing directly behind her and giving her a nice forward movement.
Yeah, so right now we're back to Frederick Van Leard, and it looked like he was giving a thumbs up, but actually I think what he was doing there was asking how far is he behind.
How far back? How far back?
I think even though Frederick Van Leard had a great pass of Luke Mckenzie, he still knows he's nearby. He's been getting splits, from our leaderboard, but he's definitely asking his coach or his assistant that's next to him to go back and get a split on what Luke Mckenzie is up to and what the gap is back there.
This is what happens when you're leading the Ironman. Things go through your head. How can I hang on? Do I think of the best T run that I've ever had? What is going through the mind of the leader of the Ironman triathlon? And right now, there could be a lot of things going through Freddie's mind. He hasn't won this race before. Yeah, sure, he was on the podium last year, but it's not like leading the race or holding on to onto a championship or defending your crown or anything like that. He should just focus on this, on the finish line. He's got enough lead right now. Luke Mckenzie is in second place, and then it's they're in a different zip code almost to third place because Sebastian Kinley is around about 4 minutes down from Freddie Van Leard at this point in time. So a lot of doubts and a lot of, things just going through Freddie's mind. Keep your mind on the job, keep the pace going, and you should be just fine.
And tend to your details. I mean, we can't forget, because we're only talking about the racing, how important the small details are. We've seen cramping, failing, falling apart in the closing miles. If you don't continue to take the proper fueling, even in those closing miles, you can't even skip that aid station on Palani when you've got a mile to go. You need to have that fluid. Yeah. You can still cramp inside that area. You need to stay on top of everything. So Freddie, not completely out of the woods. He's still got to do what he's got to do to win this race.
Freddie has just gone past Honokahau Harbour. He's just about to make that left turn and go on up the road. And then he's going to be inside of that 4.5 kilometres to go. So about three miles to go for Freddie Van Leard as our leader here in the women's race in the GoPro Ironman World Championship, Miranda Carfrey, just sucking down the energy there. She is just in complete control of this race, Michael. You're looking at me
oh, yeah.
strangely.
No, I love it. No, I'm looking at you because, you know what, you're doing a fantastic job of watching this. She just went through that mile split, took a glance, noted the time, and probably calculated a little bit of math, see what she's on par for. But ultimately, we know Miranda runs by feel. She does not do anything else other than just run by feel. She knows what she's capable of. She's very much in control of her pacing. We're approaching, that was a 15-mile mark, and we're about to get ready to go in and take this left turn into the energy lab. This is a really key part. She's going to make that left turn, and you guys talked about this before, but there's a nice downhill. That doesn't feel that great, but what does feel good is suddenly you have a sea breeze right in your face, so she has to cross over and maneuver across these cyclists that are still finishing the race, and she runs down into the energy lab. Nice, really, I tell you, it's a really nice spot to gain energy. You have a headwind as you're running down there. This is when a headwind is a good thing.
No, absolutely. I think you're right. You get a little bit of a cool breeze. You're able to as you say, maybe not lean too much into it, maybe lean a little bit into it, get the downhill, run erect, as you like to say, but to get a little aid from the headwind. Feel
Matt,
cool
if you're
for a
uncomfortable
second.
with the word erect, we can say upright. It's fine to use either word, but what you want to do is you want to have that posture and control. Carry on.
Well, yeah, we'll talk about all that later. But Miranda Carfrey looks amazing right now, letting it loose on this downhill a little bit, passing one of our pro males that is walking through an aid station, which is something you have to do when you're not having the best day. Walk through the aid station, get your nutrition, get cool, get to the finish line. And Miranda Carfrey is thinking a lot more than just getting to the finish line right now.
Yeah, well, she's thinking about getting there, but she wants to be the first person to do so. And just taking a quick note of what she did, she's very smart to take in fluid, pour fluid. She also grabbed a cup of ice. That cup of ice got jumped directly into her tri-shorts. It's a very clever move, as we all know. Maybe we don't know, but those of you that are listening should know that putting the bits of ice on various parts of your body makes a really big difference. Those spots inside the shorts, I won't address where, but inside the shorts is one of those spots. The edge of your wrist is another great cooling spot where you put ice, as well as the top of your head. So these are some of the areas that your body, when it's touching the ice and the cold, it does cool and bring down, help manage anyway that core body temperature. So that was a clever move on Rennie's part, dumping the ice in the shorts.
Yeah,
that is a thing of beauty.
Yeah, you have to have a plan on how to cool yourself down. Smaller athletes probably don't heat up quite as much as bigger athletes, but you definitely have to make sure you cool yourself down as you go. With her, it's the ice. But yeah, Greg is pointing out right now on the screen that Frederick Van Leard does look like he's tightening up a little bit. It looks like his stride is a little bit shorter.
Frederick Van Leard is certainly tying up a little bit. You can see that his stride length has really shortened. I think he's in a spot of trouble at the moment. Luke Mckenzie is only 1 minute and 34 seconds down at the 22-mile mark. So with 4 miles to go, Luke Mckenzie's still hanging in there. And as Freddie comes back in, this is a 2-lane byway, like 2 lanes either way out here on the Queen K. Once we get to the top of this hill, we've got a little bit of a downhill section to Makala Boulevard, but after Makala, you've got to go back up into town, then down Palani. It's a really grueling last 2 miles of this course. You got up and down all over the place, and by the look of it right now, I think Freddie's stride has certainly shortened a little bit. He's got enough time, I do believe, but he's 1 minute and 34 seconds in front of Luke Mckenzie. But the fastest run around on course right now is Miranda Carfrey.
Absolutely, but let's just say for a second, you're leading the Ironman World Championships here, brought to you by GoPro. This man, would we expect his stride not to shorten? I mean, this is brutal. So we're picking him apart as we do from the chairs, but let me tell you, every one of these athletes at that point in the race is going to be in an absolute world of hurt. The mind is taking over right now. Okay,
I think Freddie is in a world of hurt there, Mike.
So he is. He's in a world of hurt, and you know what? That's how you're supposed to be. You don't win this world title without being in a world of hurt. And so you're right, Greg. He's cresting now. That aid station is he's gonna really wish he was still in it, because it's a long stretch before he hits that next one. He's gonna come into that next little aid station, and when he does, then he is going to crest one final hill, the Dave Scott Mark Allen Hill. And then he's going to have, again, a long downhill that is a quad buster of a downhill.
Yeah, you're right, Michael. He needs to keep it together. And right now, it's spread out. The first 3 athletes in the men's field are within 5 minutes of each other. And then we might have missed Tyler Butterfield on one of those splits, because from the last split we've got, he's no longer in the top 10, but we'll make sure that's accurate information. But we have Sebastian Kinley 4 minutes and 51 seconds down at mile 19, and then the jump 15 minutes to Eneko Llanos. As we said, we expect to see Tyler Butterfield in there, but you never know what happens, so we got to go with what we've got at the moment. We'll update it, but behind Eneko Llanos, within 1 minute of Eneko Llanos are 4 athletes. Ben Hoffman is in there. Andrew Starkowitz is still there. So there's a lot of movement between that 7th and 4th place. Ben Hoffman did not look dejected when he got off the bike and found out he was in anywhere from 12th to 14th place, 8 minutes down. He's running quite well. He's running a similar split to some of the faster athletes in the sport. And
okay, so let's look at our Rods Racing, fueled by Idaho Potatoes leaderboard right now. Frederick Van Leard is in the lead. Luke Mckenzie is a 1 minute and 37 seconds down on our leader at the moment, Frederick Van Leard. And then Sebastian Kinley, our 70.3 world champion, is in 3rd place. So Luke Mckenzie is hanging right in there, boys.
What a show. I mean, Luke, he's a fighter, and we know that about him. So he's had his ups and downs over the course of, the last several years, but this guy is always going to give his absolute best when he's in a situation like this. You don't see him in contention and surrendering. When he surrenders, it's because he's just in desperate straits. He is off the back. So Luke Mckenzie, I'm not surprised to see him holding tough. You know what? We talked about Kinley, how he would manage coming off the bike without having that lead. I'd say he's managing it pretty well. He's certainly saying, dang, I wish I had come off the bike in first, but his run is holding strong. One thing we do know as we look to some of these splits, that what Matt was reading is a little bit inaccurate, because I know that after we had Tyler Butterfield in 4th place, the last split we had showed Tim O'Donnell moving into 6th place. So Tim O'Donnell, one of our Americans, was actually battling it out quite close to that 5th place. He had let's see if we can scroll back and find these results. I know you guys have some of these splits at home, but Tim O'Donnell, who was just kind of closing in there, had passed Farisal Sultan. He looks like he may be in 5th place now. And then looking again, we've got James Kunema, Timo Brock, someone who's very familiar with this top 10. And then we've got Yvonne Rania. We've got a guy, to see Yvonne Rania already move into 9th place, that's an impressive show right there.
Absolutely, and it does look like the splits that I got were inaccurate. It might have been on an out and back section. Those athletes were counted on a back instead of the out. So the gaps are a lot tighter than that. Tim O'Donnell is in 5th place, Farisal Sultan 6th, James Kunema in 7th, Timo Brock in 8th. There's some tight racing between that 5th place and 8th place, but not the athletes that I said earlier. Those athletes are still a fair amount behind. So we're going to get those accurate splits on you here in a second when we get them. But right now we're looking at Frederick Van Leard, who is going through some up and downs in energy. As we say, he's kind of in the pain cave, needs to find his way out. It gets pretty dark in there. But right now, what's going to help him through that struggle is the fact that he's leading the Ironman World Championships presented by GoPro. And what we saw there, that looks a little bit different than an aid station, Greg, and I'm glad we caught that on camera, is one of, I believe, 4 or 6 pro tables that we have out there. Pros are able to put their own water bottle out on a table in a marked area with their number on it, so that a little more often than just that special needs area, they're able to get a water bottle. This is for several reasons. They have control of the energy that they can put in their body. They don't have to take from strangers, and they also have the ability to put different water bottles and things out there, so they have the ability to stay on their nutrition a little bit quicker and make sure they get it all out there. So Frederick Van Leard grabbing his own water bottle from aid station, one of the special pro tables. That's going to help. He probably the last few miles when he was hurting a little bit was really looking forward to drinking at the mix that he's used to, right? So he can get some energy from that. He is so close to winning the GoPro Ironman World Championships. He just needs to hold it together, and as you said, keep himself from tying up too much and letting his legs flow with one big hill left to go.
Yeah, we got Freddie Van Leard from Belgium leading the GoPro Ironman World Championship right now. Just a couple of short miles to run for Freddie as he's getting very close to the top of Palani Hill. Then he'll be running down the Palani Drive and then onto Kuakini Highway, Hualalai Road, and finally onto Ali'i Drive. Frederick Van Leard from Belgium is our leader on the Rods Racing leading board here right now. And also Miranda Carfrey. I've got to talk about Miranda's other half right now, because Timothy O'Donnell has now moved into 5th position and he's running really, really well. But the one guy that's out there running really fast is Bart Arnott's from Belgium, a teammate of Freddie Van Leard right now. So I tell you what, he's coming, but he's going to run out of time. But that might secure a top 10 finish for Bart today.
Oh, shoot, he's already in 10th. I think he's going to move his way up, because this is the kind of guy that's been out of it. He's been doing his own race. I shouldn't say the picture, but this is a guy who's doing his own race for a long time. That pays dividends, because it means that he's actually been managing his own sort of effort, and he doesn't have to respond to anyone else's moves or dictation of the pace. So it's a really good spot to be in, and so I'd expect to see him sneak on up in there even further into the mix.
All right, well, Freddie Van Leard is right on the corner of Makala Boulevard right now. The cyclists have been up and down Makala twice today, one up and one down on the way back. Freddie puts his head into the air and he says, "Thank you, Lord, I'm going to win this race." By the look of it, he's still about 2 miles out. He's got to make his way down Palani Drive. Now, that is a quad-cracking hill. Now, what we saw a couple of years ago when Craig Alexander broke the record in 2011 in about 400 yards from now, where Freddie Van Leard is from, Craig Alexander got to the top, knew that he was going to win, and cramped up.
Yes, sir.
So what Freddie needs to do right now is just keep his eye on the prize, right down at the finish line. I'm not going to let anything stand between me and that finish line right now. No funny business. Just make sure that I keep a nice pace, and his rhythm seems to have picked up.
Yeah, he's definitely gone through some ups and downs, and they're happening a little bit quicker than they were in the past. You know, he looked like, as we said, a robot or a Terminator for the first 16 miles, and he, he's had some struggles where 100 meter at a time, you can see he's running good, and then he gets tired again. And that shows you that the best athletes in the world struggle just like everybody else, and Frederick Van Leard is pushing himself against the best athletes in the world on the toughest course that exists for Ironman triathlon, and right now he's just trying to hold it together. And as I said about Luke Mckenzie earlier, right now all he really has to do is keep running. If he keeps running, he's going to win this race. Luke Mckenzie right now, all he's seeing is he's loving the fact that he's likely going to get second place in this race, but he knows if he stays on the gas, anything can happen in Ironman triathlon, and he now has a chance to win this race, and he's going to do whatever he can in the last 2 miles to keep himself as close as possible while making sure he keeps moving. That's a big gap he has there, but anything can happen in this race.
I tell you what, it's a big gap, but it's not big enough for anyone that's leading the Ironman triathlon coming down to the last 2 miles. You want a little bit more gap than that. It's only about a minute and a half, and it hasn't really changed over the last 5 kilometers. So Freddie Van Leard and Luke Mckenzie have been running the same pace for the last 5 or 6 kilometers. So ever since Freddie took the lead, Luke Mckenzie, after he got his special needs bag, seems to be coming back a little bit. Freddie Van Leard went through a bad patch at about 22 miles. He's coming back. So the two guys now are probably going to end up finishing in those two positions. Freddie's going to win this race. Luke Mckenzie's going to get second. And third place, Sebastian Kinley, looks like he's got enough time to secure the podium finish as well. Tyler Butterfield, Tim O'Donnell, James Cunnama, Faris Al Sultan, Ivan Rania, Timo Brucht, they're all very close together, and they have about 4 to 5 miles to run in this race right now. So Tyler Butterfield, being a rookie, having the race of his life here in Kona. Tim O'Donnell's been here a couple of times, but really hasn't shown us what he's all about. And today, he's showing us that 5th place is going to be good enough for something better in the future.
Well, he's got to do that. And ultimately, Tim O'Donnell, he started this race 3 times. This is only his 2nd time where he's on the marathon. He didn't make it to the marathon his first go. And so let's remember that. And then looking at Ty Butterfield, he actually did make it to the finish line in his first go in 2010. He took 2 years away to go back to the Olympics for Bermuda, which he did in 2012 in London. So Ty Butterfield has come here, has done this. He's also a guy that is an accomplished all-around. His pedigree is quite good. His father has done this race. His father was the top triathlete, the top marathoner. His mother as well. His whole family through and through are athletes, triathletes, runners. And so Ty has just been doing this his whole life. He's a guy that has a world of experience, and he's just applying it in the proper way today. A lot of good stuff going on here.
Yeah, and I'm getting some private, text messages saying that Tyler Butterfield is closing down.
Private?
Sorry, excuse me. It's public. I'll show them to whoever. But they are showing me that Tyler Butterfield is, from what athletes were saying out there, was moving in on Sebastian Kinley. Just as I say that, we get a split coming up to show that my updates are incorrect, and it seems like he's holding the same exact pace.
Let's just all do everyone a favor here and not talk about Matt's private texts ever again. But looking close up at Frederick Van Leard, he has now made the very summit of this hill. He has crested Mark and Dave's hill, as we call it. He is over the top. It is now obvious that his stride length, fellas, has opened up a bit more because he's not going uphill. The bad thing is he is going to have to actually turn this corner and run downhill, which is an absolute quad buster of a hill. I guarantee you when he gets done, there will be no toenails left on his feet, and he will be so happy about that because he's running in the lead, minute 50 lead, down this hill over his nearest rival.
Yeah, and he just, as he was going down, he turned to his left and was able to get a split from our leaderboard and to show what gap he had. He was very intent when he looked over to make sure he got the numbers right. It showed 150 to Luke Mckenzie, and that's a very accurate and recent update
from mile 23.
That Frederick Van Leard is getting, and these guys will do updates as they go, not necessarily the same mile markers that we get. So these are very up to date. Frederick Van Leard knows where he's at. He's almost accelerating right now. He knows there's still a long way to go. He came into this hill in second place course, last year, lost that second place running down this hill into the end with Andreas Raylert. So you take nothing for granted, but Frederick Van Leard needs to hold himself together, but he's got a gap where he's going to be able to win this race.
Van Leard,
yeah. So I think that Freddie Van Leard is right now looking at this year being a little bit better than last year. Firstly, he's in the lead of the Ironman.
Yeah.
Secondly, he's clear. He's clear of Luke Mckenzie. Now it's getting close to that 2-minute mark. So I think that Freddie right now knows that he's got it in the bag. He's just got to hold it together. Get himself onto Kuakini Highway. He's now coming back into the crowd. For the last 10 miles or so, he really hasn't had many people out there talking to him, giving him splits, or just yelling encouragement. Now Freddie Van Leard from Belgium is going to hit that corner of Kuakini Highway, and after that, he knows he's got it. There we go. He's given it. He knows he's got it. His body must be just absolutely excited, running on full adrenaline right now. He's pumped.
Yeah, that's the first movement we've seen out of his face today, the first sign of any emotion, and that means that he is comfortable. He's not tying up too much. He knows he's going to get his body to the finish line in the lead. He's got a substantial gap. So Frederick Van Leard feeling good about it.
Absolutely. I mean, you know what? History has shown us that you still could collapse as late as Elite Drive. We've seen that with winners and other top 10 people. We've seen that. We know it's possible. I don't see it happening here. You guys don't either. You're exactly right. Right now, one of the cool things, only Greg can speak to this at this event, but when you're in the lead, there is an extra bit of power that goes right into your legs. It is an amazing thing that happens. You're in the lead, and suddenly the pain that you were feeling before is just a little bit evaporated. You come in here, you're so close, not to mention that you're doing this in the most hallowed grounds of triathlon. Elite Drive, Greg. Elite Drive. What does it do for you?
Mate, you're absolutely right. You can see, look at him. He's already lifted. Look at his pace.
Absolutely.
It's already lifted there. His legs are going a million miles an hour faster. His turnover's better. He's smiling, and he's still got a mile and a bit to go. So, I mean, this guy here right now, he's looking great. You know, his arms are back up. He's smiling. His legs are turning over better. Everything is coming to fruition right now. You can see that he's really just lapping it up. This guy is one of the good guys out there. He's a really nice, friendly guy. When I was down in Nice this year, when I watched him do that incredible race when he won, Bart Arnott's was second, and Bart, he ran like sub 240. This guy here just ran right over the 240 time. It was an incredible day. He dominated the bike ride. And today going into this race, we were saying that this guy doesn't have a weakness, and he was going to be the guy that was going to cover Sebastian Kinley. He was going to be the guy that would cover those breaks on the bike ride. Those big breaks today on the bike ride didn't materialize. Yep. The only thing that materialized really was the way that Freddie was able to shut it down and keep it to within a 5-minute period, and keep those guys in sight and let his running and consistency show.
Greggy, this was your pick. We didn't have him as a dark horse. You did. Notable fact as well, he declined the pre-race press conference. He will not be able to decline the post-race, nor will he want to. He'll be at that press conference. He gets to tell us exactly what it feels like to be the 2013 GoPro Ironman World Championships, about to make this right turn on Elite Drive. This is absolutely the pinnacle of our sport right here. This is when he rounds that corner, and he's going to be enveloped by the folks. The P's not quite on Walleye, right, Matt? So slow down your build-up.
Stretch it out, Mark.
Or was I talking? And nonetheless, he's coming so very close, and it gets me excited just to see it happen. I love this part, this highway right here. It literally gives you energy back. It is amazing.
Look, it's fair to say that the three of us carry some real passion for this sport of Ironman triathlon. We appreciate competition. Yep. And what we're appreciating right now is the way that this guy's gone out and done his race. He didn't panic.
Oh, great.
What's the number one thing that you should keep on your side all the time when you do an Ironman triathlon? Patience. Yep. And that's what he's been king at patience today. He was right there in the swim. He was right there on the bike, and on the run, he just let his legs do the talk. And when he got to the top of Elite Drive, he was the one that just had the pace going down. You could certainly see that Luke Mckenzie was slowly losing his pace. But what Freddie did was he just kept the same pace. He didn't accelerate. He didn't surge when he went past Luke Mckenzie. Kept the same pace. Mate, Freddie's the ultimate turbo diesel, and you can see what happens and how it pays off.
Yeah, I mean, he knew what he had to do today, and I think he probably wrote it down somewhere what his goals were. He had to respond to a few attacks, respond to certain attacks, but stay within himself. and he's done this race enough. You know, finished on the podium last year. He knows what it takes to win. He hasn't been able to win yet. He looks like he's obviously going to do that today because he had a plan and he stuck to it. Exactly what you said. You have to be patient. Even if you feel great at mile 50, you don't do anything silly. You wait because this is a very long day. And as we've said, the race starts very late. The essential race starting once you get to mile 16 in the marathon.
Well, and be flexible too, because plans are great, but also you never know. This guy's probably shifted and shuffled a little bit because you have to be flexible. Race the dynamic of the event. He may have thought, hey, someone else is going to be up the road. A lot of us thought Kinley was going to have a giant lead. Nonetheless, this is our champ. Look at him go. Gave the number one sign to the crowd, to the camera rather. He's now taking that turn. He is on Elite Drive. Another fist pump, fist pump, fist pump. Here he goes past Uncle Billy's. This is your absolute happy stretch right here.
Let's talk about the most famous 400 yards in all of Ironman triathlon. It's Elite Drive. It's here in Kailua Kona. 35 years ago, it happened for the very first time on the island of Oahu. A few short years later, it had to move. It was growing. The sport of Ironman was getting so big that we needed a bigger home. Here we are. We've arrived in Kailua Kona, and 32 races later and 35 years later, a Belgian, the second Belgian who's going to take a title. The first time, Luc Van Leard, a guy by the same name. They are no relation. They are very good friends. As a matter of fact, he helps coach Freddie Van Leard and also his advisor. But today, a second Belgian is going to win this GoPro Ironman World Championship, and this guy is going to be so elated, but he's been very consistent. A top 10 swim today, a top 10 bike today, and certainly one of the top 5 fastest runs of the day when it's all said and done. Freddie Van Leard, Matt, he's going to be the champion.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you said, this is hollow ground. The last 400 meters now, probably coming up on 200 meters, Elite Drive. This is what you dream about. You dream about leading the race. You've done it before in this stretch, and he's going underneath the big banyan tree, and that's what dreams are made of. Frederick Van Leard about to take the world championship.
Pretty impressive stuff, and you know what? This is his moment. He'll never forget it. He's going to get welcomed across as the GoPro Ironman World Champion this year. That's right, Freddie Van Leard coming across the line from Belgium. Amazing.
Yes, so Luc Van Leard was the other Belgian to win the race. Now it belongs to Freddie Van Leard from Belgium to come up for the very first time and take his first GoPro Ironman Triathlon World Championship representing Belgium. And boy, oh boy, did he do it in great fashion with a great swim, a great bike, and an even better run, capturing the lead just after 18 miles. And now you can call him an Ironman World Champion. Freddie Van Leard, congratulations. You are the GoPro Ironman World Champion for 2013.
8 hours, 12 minutes, and about 30 seconds. That's a pretty good time. 8:12:30. We had it predicted right around 8:10 or just below. We weren't too far off, but 8:12 is amazing. And I have to say, that guy really doesn't care about the time, but he really does care that he is number one today. Some impressive stuff. I know we're going to get down there. We're going to have a nice interview as soon as we can. We'll also hopefully get to hear his words as he chats with Mr. Mike Riley. In the meantime, just noticing those pictures of him standing there, absorbing
Frederick. Oh, let's get your lei, your championship lei.
Clear? He's getting Mike, right? There we go.
There we go. Gotta keep it on. There we go. Frederick, so, be able to interview a champion like yourself is a pleasure because you pushed hard all day long. They took off fast on the bike, but you put it together on the run. You just were amazing.
I tried to be smart, and it worked out.
There's nothing like smart, Frederick. I tell you that. There we go. There's nothing like smart. Did you think you really, truly would be here as a champion?
Well, to be honest, after last year, I believed I could do it. So the belief was there. I worked hard this year. I never worked so hard. And this is, it's 17 years I'm doing triathlon. This is amazing. The best I could ever have.
And what do you think, Frederick, of that? This absolute Kona crowd out here.
The best crowd you can imagine. Thank you so much, everybody.
Frederick Van Leard. Coaches, countrymen, yes.
Yeah, there you go. Frederick Van Leard, gracious champion, excited just to get across the finish line. You know, he's absorbing that amazing result. And right now, Michael Lovato, I've got goosebumps. I might get teary-eyed here. Training buddy of mine, Luke Mckenzie, coming across the finish line in second place.
This is incredible. Look at him with the Australian flag, and he's got his little Luke Mckenzie flag there in the hand. I mean, this is absolutely a breakthrough performance. This guy, he went 9th place in 2011, a little bit backwards last year, but absolute breakthrough. Look at him go. He is ecstatic with this result. That is absolutely phenomenal. The biggest breakthrough that we have seen, absolutely without a doubt. Luke Mckenzie, heck of a show. My goodness, he's got to be just absolutely over the moon with that.
No, Luke Mckenzie, absolutely inspiring. Anything is possible. He has been one of the more consistent movers in the sport. He absolutely can't believe it. He's one of those, you know, you got to pay your dues. So he's worked his way in the top 20 years ago, notching up consistently every year. Every other year, maybe he might have a bad result. 2 years ago, worked his butt off on the bike, got 10th place, and now he went from 10th to second, now down to Mike.
Push that pace out there on the bike.
Go, Luke, go.
Pushing on the run.
Let's hear what Mike has to
that
say.
no doubt is one of the best races you've ever had.
That was a dream come true. Freddie was just too strong, but it was a dream to lead the Hawaii Ironman like that. And, you know, I'm a little bit disappointed not to hold on for the win, but seriously, second, I'll take that. That was the best day of my life.
Just because you're second place, you are a champion. You had a great day today. Luke Mckenzie, Australia, everybody.
That is phenomenal. That is absolutely phenomenal. Luke Mckenzie, what a heck of a show. Surprised a lot of people. Obviously, those in his camp knew where he was, knew where his form was, but none of us, the pundits, we did not put him in our top 5. We did not put him really inside our top 8. That is a heck of a show. We're seeing 3rd place also in our split screen. So if we can just peek over there and see who's coming around, that Sebastian Kinley. He is doing his thing. He is rounding out this podium. We knew he was capable of it. Right now, he did it in fashion that we did not anticipate. So again, Sebastian Kinley from Germany coming down a lead drive in 3rd place, proving that he was determined to move up a spot, and he is capable of doing so. Matt, what do you think here?
Yeah, Michael, I think Sebastian, this isn't exactly how he thought his race was going to go. He thought maybe he'd have a larger gap off the bike, and he'd be attacking on the bike and then hold on for the run, and it looks like he's holding on more to maintain that 3rd place position that he came off of the bike in, and he's doing a great job. And any way you cut it, Michael, he went from 4th place, and now he's in 3rd place. And Sebastian Kinley, obviously, he's had some some hard times in the middle of the day today, but there's that smile, and he's loving this moment right now. As we said, those last 400 meters, Sebastian Kinley is eating it up, and
he's ecstatic. I mean, here's the thing: this guy right here, he did it, and he did it absolutely with class. He's only 26, 27 years old. Yeah. He's very young. He's still very new to this event, new to this distance of racing. He's still finding his form, but he's 3rd place in the Hawaii Ironman World Championships. GoPro couldn't be happier to see this guy come across. I couldn't either.
Yeah, no, he's one of those champions. We expect to see him have a lot of good results in this race. He has so many tools to do that with an amazing bike ride. And then today he really used his run to maintain himself and to get that podium position, as it was a tough day and you just have to make sure you can tick him over and have a good run split out there. And today he swam very well. It took almost halfway through the swim for him to get detached from that main group. So if this athlete can continue to improve in the swim and still be aggressive on the bike and maintain that run speed he has and maybe get a little bit better on the run, and just as you said, he's young, just learn from those experiences. Sebastian Kinley has the ability to do very, very great things in the Ironman World Championships presented by GoPro, and he's going to get under 8 hours and 20 minutes. And Sebastian Kinley, one of the legends now, I think he's going to be a legend in German triathlon, and one of those, he passes the baton to him of being one of those great cyclists. But 3rd place, just after a 4th place last year. Talk about consistency. That's some great work from Sebastian Kinley.
There he is, and you know what? There's big bragging rights. Top German. He's on the podium. He's done what he needed to do. He's in position to go forward and take the win in the next year or two. Most athletes, we do not see them win this race without at least landing 2nd or 3rd beforehand.
Yeah,
we saw that with Frederick Van Leard, third place last year, taking 2 steps up. We've got Kinley now poised to at least move to second, if not remain on that podium and still gain experience. Phenomenal stuff. Not discounting also our boy Luke Mckenzie, who is carrying that Australian flag and the hopes of his country for being one of these champions in a long line of really great Australians.
Yeah, unreal racing from Luke Mckenzie, and he's not afraid to be aggressive out on that bike ride. He's done that the last few years. Last year he might have hurt himself a little bit, but this year he did everything right on nutrition and pacing. Talking to the guys at Training Peaks, his watts were even across the board on the way out and on the way back. So that's what it takes to be able to back up a strong bike rider with a good marathon. But right now, Sebastian Kinley, he's the guy in the moment, was able to get that last podium spot, and now it's going to be pretty close finishing, I think, from our 4th place through 8th place athletes. We're going to get some good racing here. We're expecting to see Tyler Butterfield come through next, but as we say, you never know what happens the last 2 miles, so hopefully we see him hold on. And as we said, race of the day, 4th place, amazing result for that athlete.
Race of the day, I think, has actually got to go to Frederick Van Leard. Come on now, that was amazing. This guy came in here, did it, he won the race. Maybe surprise of the day, perhaps breakthrough of the day, going to our Bermudan. But right now, we're waiting to see these guys come in. Again, a notable thing that we have is we have a very close around about 6.5 minutes from 3rd place. So this is very tight to have 3 guys inside of 6.5 minutes. There were no major breakaways on that marathon. I mean, everybody was just so darn close, and that doesn't always happen. I mean, I think you can look at that gap. Last year, Pete pulled away by quite a bit in the end and had quite a gap by the time he won that race. I mean, I think he was 5 minutes just to 2nd place, and then 3rd place last year was about 6 minutes as well.
So maybe not quite so, pretty similar. But the difference, Michael, is I think that the race kind of blew up a little bit this year, and it still maintained that close. That means those 3 athletes were head and shoulders above the rest. But right now, I do think we have Greg Welch down there with our winner today and the rest of our podium. But right now, if we can go down to Greg Welch and see what he has to say with those phenomenal athletes.
Very much, Matt. Yeah, we're standing by right now with the 2013 GoPro Ironman World Champion. How does that sound, Freddie?
Incredible. I can't believe it. It's the best race of my life. I never had such a feeling so strong during the whole day. I'm really so happy.
Freddie, your position in the swim was perfect. Like you said, your bike ride was very good enough to just close that gap to Starkowitz and Luke Mckenzie. But on the run, you were very consistent, like always.
Well, that's my strong point. I tried to be patient in the beginning and just to put in the second half marathon as close as fast as the first half marathon. So I'm always patient, and it pays off. Last year it paid off. In Nice it paid off. So and now again.
So Freddie, becoming the Ironman World Champion, firstly, what does it mean to you? But you shut down your season after Ironman Nice this year at the south of France at the end of June to focus on this race. So firstly, tell us about shutting it down, and then tell us what it means to be world champion.
Well, to shut it down, I think that's obvious. Last year I got 3rd, I got points enough. 1 Ironman was enough, and for sure, if you do one, the goal was to win it. So my goal was there, and then I just got back a little bit of rest, some family time in July, and then from the month of August on, I decided to put everything on this race. And what does it mean for me? It's I think I don't understand yet what it means to me. It's 6 years in Australian wins, now an European again, a Belgian. I'm the 2nd Belgian, and the guy who won it twice before me has the same name. So if that is not special, oh man.
Okay, so we know that you're dying to say hello to your wife and your 2 children as well. So sure. Please say hi to all your friends and family back in Belgium, in Flemish, if you like.
Ja. Sophie, Aaron, Simon, papa, een beetje content, hè? En iedereen heeft me in de merci, drink er mooi in. Ik had kijk op beton, moet er niet meer zitten.
I think Freddie Van Leard is a worthy GoPro Ironman World Champion. He's elated right now. I'm elated for him. He's a great guy and a great champion. Back to you guys.
Sports.
Yeah, thanks so much, Greg. Great stuff. It's great to see that emotion out of our winner. We saw a few athletes come across the finish line as we were in that interview there. 5th place, Michael, was Tim O'Donnell. 6th place was Yvonne Rania. And then 7th place was Tyler Butterfield, still with an amazing performance on the day. And right now we're looking at live footage of Bart Arnouts, who could be the fastest run of the day. It looks like he's been really pulling time back on the field.
I'd say so.
Yeah.
This guy came from way back, and he looks, about as good as Rennie. So that's incredible. This guy, obviously a heck of a talent, sub 240 in Nice, here doing it on the in the heat and humidity of Kailua Kona and the Kona Coast. This is really good stuff. So impressive show. We've seen a lot of people blow up from that early part of the marathon to now.
Yeah.
That's what happens here. I'd love to see how many of those guys stick it out. That's what counts, is sticking it out, learning from it, gaining experience, also just finishing what you started. So remember, these pros hurt just as bad as the last place finisher. They hurt in a different way and for maybe a shorter time, but it's a lot of ups and downs. It's a lot of battle, and I like to say that every athlete really gets on the start line with the same goal, and that goal is just to go sub 17. You want to go a little faster, but really you want to get to the finish line. That's the nuts and bolts of it.
No, I think particularly at this race, the World Championships in Kona, you want to get across the finish line. It's got its special mystique, and here we go. Bart Arnouts coming through in 8th place. And Michael, I think the times are pretty close. I mean, look at Sebastian Kinley was just under 8:20 for 3rd place. 8th place coming in less than 6 minutes behind him. So the athletes were stacking up a little bit, but with such tough conditions and aggressive racing early on. I mean, don't forget, I think almost to 60 miles of the bike ride, we had 22 athletes riding together, right? So it's definitely come apart, but the athletes had great runs. Tim O'Donnell had a great run to finish out 5th place here today.
Tim showed that he is establishing what it takes, and he's developing what it takes to really excel in this race. You're not going to go and just jump right up there and win this race after an 8th place finish. You kind of got to stair step it in this race, in the men's race. And so that's what he's doing. He showed composure in realizing that he could let the race go a little bit and still finish in there in the top. Obviously, our split screen map, we're looking at Rennie, Miranda Carfrey still holding on to this lead.
That's Timo Brock.
That's Timo Brock. This guy does not know how to finish outside the top 10.
That's
amazing. One of the strongest athletes around in 9th place, particularly special number to finish 9th place. Only the most gifted athletes can do that. But this guy, 9th place, really seriously, he's the 2nd German, and there are big bragging rights for that. This guy goes up against all of the rest of the German hopefuls. He's going to get a lot of props in his home country and his home media and all that stuff. So well done to Timo Brock, one of the most sort of consistent Hawaii Ironman
Absolutely, and you look when he crosses the finish line and people congratulate him, he gave a meh. He was maybe not, he was hoping for a little bit more, but Timo, as you said, he's allergic to anything but the top 10. And as we talk about Timo having a great race, we saw Ronnie come by. It looks like he didn't finish the race, so he's out. This race is tough for someone. How many times has he won Ironman Switzerland?
8 times, Ronnie Schiltneck, and also he came 4th place in Kona. So the guy knows how to race well here. I mean, he's just one of the casualties of war, because ultimately too, and this is a stat that I play around with. I look back and saw a 20-minute spread at this race from the winner. So if you win this race, how many guys are within 20 minutes of you? And that stat is really fascinating. So we saw it back in 2003 be about 17 guys. And then in 2008, about 5 years later, we trimmed that to 14 guys. And then last year, 20 minutes from the winner, you were about 11th place.
Yeah.
So it's getting smaller and smaller. Right now, Matt, we're 15 minutes, 9th place, 15 minutes out of 1st.
Yeah.
How many more can we get in? Not a lot. It's an interesting stat. Make